This is the XNC Podcast, your Xbox newscast, featuring Colteastwood and Mag, hosting industry interviews and gaming talk live on YouTube every Monday night at 5 p.m. on the West Coast, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. For all of you listening around the world, XNC Podcast is available on demand on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Welcome to the show. Join the chat, hit the like button, and let's get into this week's topics with the Xbox Newscast. Welcome to the XNC Podcast. I'm just settling down with my good friends. I'm Colteastwood, and over here is my good friend, the Megalodon, the Magnificent, the Magnanimous, the Canadian Royal Goose. How have you been?
The Canadian Royal Goose. What a name. I'm doing great. It's been a very busy couple of weeks. I'm back in the chair, as you are as well. We got Fonzarelli Gaming here, folks. We got some things to talk about tonight. I got a lot of screaming to do at certain people, and got to get some things off my chest. And you know what? A whole lot of vindication this week as I watch people who are calling me a scumbag.
And a pony.
And a pony and a fake insider are now the same idiots that are going, well, it just makes sense to put everything on PlayStation now. But 8 months ago, we were all idiots for saying that, and way worse. But anyways, let's get into the show. I got some things to talk about. Let's go.
The Doomers and the Gloomers. I'm glad to have you back.
The Boomers and the Gloomers. All in the house.
Before we all...
Fake insiders.
Yeah, big old negative
liars.
Pony bots. The pony bots.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, we've got to give a great introduction to our good friend Fonz Gaming, who's also a doomer, a gloomer, and a boomer, and a boomer, and a zoomer.
No, I'm not a boomer, actually. No, I don't think any of us here are boomers.
Yeah.
So, and no, come on, stop it. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the invite. It's been a while. Mag is right about one thing. We're all idiots. All of us. We're all idiots. That's for sure.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Fonz, it's good to have you here. You and I have been talking nonstop over, the past 5 or 6 months, every day. And we've been playing games together.
5 or 6 months. It's been I don't know, a few years.
5 or 6 years. Yeah. But lately, it's been the Fonz and Colt best friend hour. But it's good to have you here. And I want to get your expertise on a lot of topics as well.
Oh, we do play a lot of games. Yeah, and we play a lot of games together all the freaking time. And it's so funny when you see comments thrown at you you fake gamer. And it's okay, dude. Okay.
Mag, Fonz and I were playing First Descendant together before you got into the hot booty with a machine gun craze.
Is that a fact? And how did you guys like it? Did you guys have a good time?
It was trash.
We might have scissored.
It was trash. I enjoy it.
No, you know what? It's
No,
it was okay for what it was, but I got tired of it. I'm not into those types of games anymore. It doesn't do it for me.
You know, it's funny. I actually usually don't play those games either, but for some reason, this game's got its claws in me. So
I know why.
I'm actually enjoying it. So
yeah, I know why.
It's not because of the outfits.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. If they had characters looking like Concord characters, you wouldn't be playing the game.
I could just go to Pornhub and go to the anime section, but
I'm just saying it's not about that, but it is. There's a level of attraction there. You have to like the characters you're playing on screen to some degree, and those characters in Concord are just unlikable. I'm sorry, I'm getting way ahead. Sorry, way ahead.
I mean that's okay, Fonz, because I've been playing just a little bit of Star Wars Outlaws. And I didn't get fully into it because I'm playing some other game, but that character she doesn't look right. I'm going to say this not because it's a dig. I'm going to say it because I think it's true. She looks like she's wearing some sort of mask over her face. Hey, you won't know I'm wearing a different. You remember? You guys are old like me. Remember the movie The
Mask?
She looks like she's wearing that mask.
The mask.
There's
mask. Oh, I thought you were talking about Rocky Dennis.
Rocky Dennis, yeah. She looks like she's wearing a leather mask over her face that has bumps, cheekbone bumps where they shouldn't be, some protruding jaw points where they don't belong. Her face is all awash with one color. It just doesn't look right.
Sounds awful. That sounds ridiculous.
And my immersion is ruined. Yeah. You're not wrong, Fonz and Mag, because I think
I mean the thing is, at the end of the day, it's you want to play characters you think look cool, are attractive to some degree to you. You know, it's not like, and it has nothing to do with being, you know, sexually attractive or anything, but you want cool characters. Like sometimes you just want to be a bad A, you know, in a game. And you want to relate to the character in that way. You don't want to relate to the character and be a character that looks just as bad as you on screen.
Shout out to 108 Dragons. Says we're not old. We level up. Yeah, I know. You want to relate to the characters, and you want them to be
a hero, especially a hero. Like you want to be a hero in the game, and you don't want to look like a zero. God, that's so old.
God,
but that's
what were you saying, Mag?
No, nothing. I was just reading the same comment that Lemon was saying in the chat.
Yeah.
That was funny. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah. I don't know. Fawn's is trying to explain it, but I just think you just want stuff to look visually pleasing. Like, I don't know, for the most part, like you want the cars to look cool. You want the characters to look cool. I want my male characters to look like, I don't know. It's hard to explain without sounding weird because just a character in a video game. Like,
it's not even that, because you can look at a game like Wukong and say, hey, at least that character is cool, you know, and it's a monkey, you know, there's a cool factor to the character that the characters in some games just don't have, and they don't appeal to people. And that's one of the like fundamental things that you can really grasp, like, or relate to in games is that attraction.
That blue number in the chat goes, she's cute, Shamit.
Wow. Who?
I think she might be talking about K-Vest from Star Wars Outlaws. I think I just want to change her hair. I want a little braid or something, or a little something.
You don't like the 70s style?
Yeah, I was gonna say you didn't like the 70s blow dry, the blow dried look with a little bit of just a tiny bit of like pushed up tees there going on.
What?
Just before the 80s hit, and then they had the big hair.
Yeah, when I see her face, I expect there to be like the superimposed other picture, like the side view, like they used to do in the portrait studios. No, I don't know. It just doesn't. We wouldn't get into it like too heavily on this show, but some of the DEI stuff that people are freaking out about, we don't talk about here. I think we're kind of running to the end of the tracks on that, and I don't know. But regardless, Star Wars Outlaws is doing okay. It's a 77 on Open Critic, and some people say it's all right. I don't know. I could give you my brief review. Is she shoots kind of weird. The angle doesn't feel great for third person shooting, and then instead of stealth like choking out or knocking out someone, she just does like this haymaker punch, and it's just, I don't know. I haven't gotten into it, but it's weird, Mag. It's a dumb gripe, but
can you imagine sneaking up on someone and then just unwinding this huge like a cartoon style haymaker and just
have you seen it?
Instead
of doing a choke out or even like hitting somebody like right in the Spock location, right, with the gun.
Yeah.
Brad Ward Fight will quote me on the Spock location. I don't know what that's called, but
of course,
you know what I mean, right? Fonz, where in the 80s, like they always knock somebody out by hitting them right here. Whatcha! And then they go down.
Yeah, judo chop, like they
judo chop in the
and
neck,
they go down every time, and it's like, come on, that doesn't work. But
that is so
okay.
Funny.
Hey, wait, Master Envoy, don't leave. Master Envoy, don't leave. He's really mad about what did Wukong Black Myth lie about? We are going to get into it in the show. It's one of the early topics because there's a lot of posturing for this game in a lot of different ways. We're going to talk about what is going on with them. They just announced that the game is indefinitely delayed for Xbox. We're going to talk about why I feel like that's a lie in its own way. Yeah, please stick around. If you leave, you won't get to hear it, and we'll have timestamps in here. But before we do that, I don't normally put gameplay up, but I'm going to put up, let me see. I'm going to put up some Red Dead gameplay while we talk because Fonz and I have been having an absolute blast. Yeah, just crazy. Yeah. And I thought it would give you guys something to look at while we talk about the topics. Before I get into the...
Oh, headshot right away. Dude, you're going to get demonetized for that. Do you know I get demonetized for stuff like this? Anytime I show gameplay on my show, demonetizes me, and I gotta fight it. I gotta appeal it every time. Every time you see gameplay on my show, they demonetize me.
Well, YouTube normally demonetizes you in the first like 15 seconds if there's violence, but we'll see. Not that it really
Oh, they
matters.
do it for me all the time. Anytime I show gameplay.
So
it could be freaking Darling Nikki or whatever it's called.
Infinity
Fantasy Nikki. Yeah, whatever. And they're just like, we're going to stop your money right now. And I'm like, oh, okay, let me appeal. 4 days later, you won your appeal. Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Did nothing wrong.
Fonz and I have been playing Red Dead. We're doing like a full playthrough. I'm doing like nearly 100% playthrough. And I've realized that Red Dead Redemption 2 is probably the best game ever made in many, many ways, next to like Mass Effect 2 for me. It's way up there.
Yeah, it's one of them.
And
way up there.
Playing it again has taught me how incredible this game is, even more than when I first played it. I thought it was Game of the Year in 2018. I thought for sure it was a shoe-in. But now I know. It's amazing. I want to ask Mag about what he's playing, but since you're also playing, I thought I'd get quick thoughts from you since you've been playing Black Myth. We'll get into that, but you can just talk about Red Dead for a second, and then we'll get into topics. Fonz.
Oh, you were talking to me. I thought
yeah. I thought
Mag.
I'll give it to you first,
no.
and then we'll ask Mag what he's playing.
So I've been playing Red Dead. Of course, I beat WuKong. I beat WuKong. It took me 26 hours to beat. Enjoyed it. I've got a lot to say on it when we get to it. Mm-hmm. But Red Dead 2, I've been no-lifing that. Like, in between games that I've been playing, like new games will come out. I'll start playing those. Either beat them or don't like them. Jump right back into Red Dead 2. And I've got currently like 100+ hours in Red Dead 2 on Steam. And I've beat Red Dead 2 in the past. It's just that I wanted to play this again and do more exploration and stuff in it. Because Rockstar, I mean, they are rock stars at what they do. It's incredible stuff what they can do with their detailed worlds. And I love the exploration aspect of the game. So a lot of that going on. And there's things that I'm finding that I didn't find the first time when I played it.
Same.
There's missions I've done this time, and I'm like, I don't remember doing this. So it's been a lot of fun. It's
been good. We're
Shout out to the chat, man. You got an amazing chat.
Oh, thank you guys. And thank you for not here's my glitch online with the turkey on fire. That is super weird. There's some sort of weird perk online you can get late game, and this turkey was on fire. It was awesome. That was
Arthur turn into a woman.
Some of this gameplay is me playing online and just kind of running around. So no spoiler stuff.
Okay. Because there are mods where you can play as other people. You can play as Sadie, actually.
Yeah, and I've done no mods. You're like mod the crap out of it.
I've modded the crap out of it.
Meg, what have you been playing since we were?
Well, I mean, I was busy a lot and I was on the road a bit there, so I didn't get a whole lot of gaming in, but I did squeeze in about 25 hours of First Ascendant as I'm sort of, I'm maxing out one of my characters and getting into another one.
Nice.
So I think I'm sitting at about 60 hours in that game. Like I said, I dislike games like Destiny and stuff like that. It's just not my thing, not my jam in the free-to-play model. But for some reason, this game, like I told you before in the beginning of the show, it's got its hooks in me, so I'm really enjoying First Ascendant.
Awesome.
I'm also on the side. I'm digging into. I'm starting finally. Funny enough, I'm one game behind when it comes to Ubisoft. I'm actually just starting Avatar right now. So once I get through Avatar, then I'm going to move on to. Then it's going to be Black Ops 6. Right, that is going to basically take us into the fall and whatever out, and maybe Astrobot. I think that I know we're going to get into like Star Wars Outlaws and stuff, but it always seems like for me, like when it comes to a Ubisoft game that sits usually around the 75 to 80 in the Metacritic area, those are basically you wait like 2 months, you get it for $30.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like it's the kind of thing that I could absolutely see myself getting on Black Friday. You know what I mean? That kind of thing, and then just get the game, and then that's all there is to it, and then pay half price for it, and then eventually get to it. So there's no rush for me, but I've been watching the reviews of the people that I enjoy watching, and the people that I trust their reviews, and watching them on YouTube and whatever else. So it's got me intrigued. It's clearly got some issues. I think some of those issues will get ironed out. Some of them are technical. Some of them are a little bit of, quality of life issues. I think they will still fix those up in updates. And Ubisoft is actually pretty good at working on their games and tinkering on them to improve the experience. So I figure by the time I get to it, it'll be an even better experience. So I think that could probably sit at a low 80s on the Metacritic if they had, given another month or so of just tinkering around and making the experience a bit better. So, but I don't know. Maybe they can't change a haymaker. stealth haymaker from behind. It seems kind of silly, but some of the other things I was watching and some of the reviews. I don't want to get into it because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. So I'll just, needless to say, just gonna say that we'll wait, and then I'll get that later on down the road. But anyways, first Ascendant, and then now into Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. That's what I'm working on.
Okay. Well, Mags, you're so busy, and I'm thinking the fall is going to be so packed with games that you can just kind of pick and choose where you land while you wait for those games to kind of get ironed out. I would say wait on Star Wars Outlaws. Wait until, I don't know, wait a month.
I'll wait till Black Friday. I'll wait till November when it goes. It'll be like $30 for sure.
Yeah, and
Ubisoft always drops their games half price in a couple of months.
Yeah, and in like 12 days, Space Marine 2 is coming out. If people are more interested in that, I would say get Space Marine 2 while you wait to finish that to get Star Wars Outlaws. Thanks to Game Seeker, who is a channel member and Patreon of the channel, a veteran Patreon. He's given out a code for the Call of Duty Black Ops 6 beta, and I'm ready to paste it in the chat. So if you're ready to hit your Control-C, Control-V, if you know where to put that without much more warning than that, shout out to him who has provided the Call of Duty Black Ops 6 beta code. It is now in the chat. Let me read some supers. We'll get into the topics. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. We've got Lotus Esprit, who gifted a channel membership for 1 month. Thank you for doing that and saying hi. Lotus Esprit, we're good to see you around. BT Maverick, thanks for the 5, says, evening, gents. I want to shout out Pony Mag, wink. Got me hooked on Dying Light 2. I'm 24 hours in. This game is awesome, and it runs great on the Steam Deck OLED. Nice. Noise FOMO with the Canadian 5 says, Black Ops Prodigy trailer is perfection, and I'm not a FPS player, but I'm hyped. Transition Xbox to Activision and let them call the shots. Hit the like button, says Noise FOMO. This isn't a big topic, but I thought maybe I would ask both of you, why in the world are we not seeing any Game Pass declarations for Black Ops 6 right now? What's going on with that, Mag?
What do you mean?
Why aren't they just screaming from the rooftops that play it day one on Game Pass all over the Activision? I think we talked about it briefly a couple weeks ago, but
yeah. Well, we did talk about it briefly. There was the possibility, because no one's really actually saying so. Basically, it's just a well-informed speculation. Does that make any sense?
Sure. Yeah.
We're basically just under the impression that they really can't talk about it too much until next year, once the full contract with Sony runs out or whatever. Even though I think it already has, but maybe there's like a little bit of a grace period. We don't really know, because no one's actually really come out and said anything like officially that this is what's going on. But we think that that's how it is. By the way, Goofy Goober, my name is not middle-aged gamer guy.
You're so picky.
Idiot. Yeah. And Magnum, Fawn said the chat was great. The chat was great until Goofy Goober and Magnum showed up.
Magnum was giving me some heat on Gaz's podcast the other week.
Magnum. Yeah. Magnum's a good guy, man. I like him.
Yeah, he likes to give us a hard time sometimes, but that's all good.
It's all fun, man. I love it.
It's all fun.
But anyways, getting back into that situation with Game Pass and advertising and all that, I think that there must be some kind of a grace period in between when they're actually allowed to go out there and really push the envelope as to it's on Game Pass. Here's the situation. I mean, it already is on Game Pass, but be able to advertise it properly and really push the envelope. I don't really seeing it happening right now, and obviously they should be. But I guess that what people have been saying is possibly true. What do you think?
I have a prediction based off of somebody I've talked to that kind of tries to explain to me how they think things work. But Fonz, what do you think? What's going on with the no Game Pass declaration everywhere for Call of Duty? Biggest game in the year.
I don't get it, and I think it's crazy. Whatever reason it is, it doesn't make sense to me, regardless, because this is the big deal at Activision Blizzard. This is the one game you really want to put out there that's coming into Game Pass, and they should be screaming this from the mountaintops, and they're not, and it just boggles my mind. I don't know why. There's got to be some sort of reason, and I've heard from other people that they can't do it. And I'm like, well, why not? But nobody has a reason why. That's what I don't get.
There's no real answer. Nobody seems to have a solid answer as to why. But like I said, again, Fonz, it seems to be some kind of speculation that they're at the tail end of this Sony deal that has been running for several years, and then getting into that. So, but again, Microsoft, obviously, it's none of our business, really, at the end of the day. It's not like Microsoft's going to come out and say, oh, Colt, Fonz, and Mag are kind of curious as to why we're not advertising.
They need to
we're going
see
to tell
this.
you. Yeah, we're going to tell you all our inner business dealings just to keep you satisfied. It's kind of like when we say something, we're like, we spoke to some people and this is what's happening with Microsoft. And then some guy with 8 followers goes, source. Source. And I'm like, I'm going to out my source and get him fired from Microsoft because, Goober, whatever his face is, wants to know my source. Are you next level or what? So
Sources,
like,
I
it's the
made
same
it up,
thing, like,
bro.
Yeah, we made it up. Yeah, source, trust me, bro. Remember that?
Yeah. Hey.
So So, anyways, that's the thing. We don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, we don't.
And they know what they're doing, but like I said, again, all we could do is just give it an educated estimation as to what's happening.
Your camera looks so good, Fonz. Like, why does it look better than mine? It's so great. I don't know. You just got a really
1080p camera.
I know it's great. That blue number in the chat says, Colt, the new multiplayer trailer today had a PlayStation splash screen. That backs up what we're saying. It's got the Call of Duty marketing on it still. The prediction, I think, if I was to give my best educated guess, is that with the regulators, they said, we want to put this on Game Pass ASAP. And they're like 2024. And the regulators or PlayStation and everybody made the deal like, okay, but you can't throw Game Pass in your marketing everywhere because it'll decrease competition. And it sounds dumb to say it, right? It sounds dumb. So who knows? Otherwise, what would be, if you don't like that answer, what would be your real answer? Why would Xbox not ask Activision to say, make sure you put a Game Pass logo on the end? Like, you don't need to put Game Pass flying all over the characters when they jump, slide around, and it says Game Pass on their sleeve. No, like, it just has to say it at the end. And we're not seeing a lot of that. So it must be some sort of regulatory concession, or maybe just Xbox versus PlayStation concession because they still have marketing rights. Because PlayStation desperately need those sales of Call of Duty on their own platform. And if they feel like Game Pass would steal them all, I think they're silly anyway to think that. But that's
not going to happen. No, it's still going to be the same number. I mean, there'll be a slight change in numbers, but we've talked about it before, and other people have talked about it. Regardless of people's personal feelings, no one is going to go sell their PlayStation, go buy an Xbox, and then subscribe to Game Pass just to play Call of Duty. If they've already got that PlayStation, they're just going to spend the $70 and buy Call of Duty like they always do.
Yeah,
that's all there is to it. I mean, if they have both, right? If they have access to both, like most of us do, then and let's say you're already subscribed to Game Pass, then obviously you could be like, well, the obvious choice is right there. But for all the people who do not, there's no chance there's no chance you're converting them over.
Do you know when you convert people over? When you have multiple exclusives on a consistent basis hitting Game Pass, hitting your console. That's when you get people to come over to your console. Isn't it kind of, I mean, it's obvious, but it's just to us, I guess.
Wash your
Isn't that weird?
Today?
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that something that Meg and I've been saying?
We've only been saying literally word for word for like a year, if not longer.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I know. But that's why the Xbox console and Game Pass, they're not going to grow. They're just not. And despite anybody's feelings out there, that's just what's going to happen. It's right now it's stagnant. And if you are going to put your games on your competitors' platforms, there's no way you would entice somebody to Game Pass. Well, I don't see how you're going to entice them over there because number one, if they own a PlayStation, they've got to buy a platform that has Game Pass. And that's just not going to happen. That's at least a $500 drop or a $300 drop for the Series S.
I blame the Series S.
Well, you can.
Sorry, I had to throw that in there. No.
Go ahead.
Carry on. I'm just being a goof.
Fonz.
A goofy goober, as it were.
It just sucks. It sucks in the way that they're doing it, though, because a lot of people have a problem with their messaging and them not being able to deliver a message that's clear, coherent, and makes sense to their gamers. But honestly, I told Colt, I think that they don't even know. I think that they are testing a lot of things right now, and they're in that phase where they're just like saying, hey, let's drop a game here, drop a game there. That's about it.
When they say,
I don't think they know.
When they say case by case basis, they absolutely mean it. They are game by game. They are deciding what in the world they're supposed to be doing with this platform. I listened to a great interview with David Jaffe interviewing Michael Pachter. And I know that people will immediately say, what the heck does Michael Pachter know? Well, he knows a lot, right? And what has Michael Pachter got right? Well, he's probably gotten most things right. But he says that the problem with Xbox and Game Pass is they don't know what they're doing. They're pioneering this, having games a la carte on a streaming service or on a subscription service. He says they don't, he said exactly what Fawn said. They don't know what they're doing. They don't have anybody who's an expert in this. They're pathing a way forward for this. They don't know what they're doing. He also said they have no balls. It was a pretty great interview. He said Microsoft and Xbox, they don't have the balls to be bold with Game Pass. And he says they could turn it around by keeping the prices low and offering it to everyone and marketing it properly. And he thinks they're not doing that because they don't quite know what to do. But we've talked about that a lot. Some of that we'll actually get back to in a moment. I don't want to go off on a tangent. Shout out to 500 plus people who are here watching the show. We are going to talk today. I'll give you a quick rundown. We're going to talk about Black Myth WuKong in just a second here. We're also going to talk about Indiana Jones and Avowed, the reveals and the information that came out just a past week ago from Gamescom. We're going to talk about that today. We've got some more information about that. We've got an update for Fable, Towerborn, Dragon Age, Veilguard, and we're going to talk about Concord and where PlayStation is going when that relates to Xbox. But first, I want to talk about I want to talk about Black Myth WuKong. I'll set it up and then give it over to Fonz Gaming, who has the most experience. But this game was shown at Summer Games Fest. It's a Souls-like game. It is by Game Science, a Chinese studio. The thing came out the gate super hot. People were excited from day one at Summer Games Fest. Fonz is sitting right next to me. We saw the reveal. The reveal ended with no Xbox logo. The controversy has continued on ever since then. The game just launched a week ago on PlayStation 5 and PC. We just heard today from a trusted insider that Game Science is telling people the Xbox port is delayed indefinitely because of a memory leak. I want to get the insight from Fonz, who's played this on a killer $4,000 PC. Fonz, how's Black Myth WuKong?
Black Myth WuKong is a good game. Okay, and I give kudos to Game Science for delivering a product for the first, AAA game that they've made or big budget game that they put out there. Quality stuff, however, kind of shaky, with the performance and stuff. I feel it's not well optimized. Let's just put it that way on anything. I don't care where you're playing this game. It's not well optimized. I've had tons of people, come to my thread about talking about it because as soon as I beat it, put 26 hours into it, beat the game. And no, I didn't try and find every nook and cranny here and there because to be honest, for the first couple of levels, chapters, I was doing that. And I got so tired of the level design. The level design is terrible. There's a lot of invisible walls. So there'll be places it looks like you can just walk into, but no, there's an invisible wall there you can't go through. But here's the problem with that. I would be good with that if that was like that and it was all just trails, but there are areas you can walk out into and you can't discern which ones you can and can't unless you try to walk everywhere and literally try to hit every invisible wall because there's no mini map in this game too. That's another thing I can't see.
I didn't know that.
No mini map. And at first, for the first few chapters, you're like, that's fine. It's pretty linear. It's not very open, but it gets pretty darn open. There gets to a point where it's, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it definitely, it's one of those games. It's like screams mini map is needed and it's just not there.
It's incredible, incredible looking game.
Incredible looking game. Beautiful. And again, the combat's fun, all that stuff fun. The crafting, though, honestly, it's going to probably tick some people off. It's unnecessary. It really is. Like, you could go through this whole game without doing a lot of the stuff it offers, without getting a lot of the, like, top-level armor pieces and things. Like, it seems very unnecessary. Like, I get it. It's like, yeah, it's a little bit better, but, it's not. And I know there's things you could do to get stronger, taking some of the drinks and stuff. People are getting like really OP builds with that, but I'm just talking about the stuff you craft and things outside of those drinks. But By the end of the game, you see the cracks in their game, and you start to feel, oh, this was rushed, especially chapter 6. It falls apart in chapter 6 completely. Like, you don't know where to go. You're like, what? And it should be an epic experience.
You were pretty frustrated in party chat with me.
I was. So I was at an 8.5 until I got to chapter 6, and I was like, oh, no. This is going down a point. So I gave it a 7.5 because I still think it's a good game, almost there on great level. But those issues that I have with the design level and the fact that the performance issues are just really horrendous at times. For the first few chapters, it's not that bad. You can deal with it, and it's like, okay, I just have to back off on this and this, and I get this, 80 plus frames to 100 frames. But when you get to the end of chapter 4 into chapter 5, it takes a nosedive with performance. And that's where I tell people, yes, Unreal Engine 5 is very demanding. However, because this is happening and it's so inconsistent with frame timing, frame rates, latency, and all this stuff, that shows that it's not well optimized as well.
Okay,
it's not just Unreal Engine 5.
You said the longer
not well optimized.
You said the longer you played it, the more the performance took a major hit.
Takes a dive.
I don't want to leave Meg out because Meg and I haven't played the game, and we could sit here and go the whole time.
No, it's fine.
I give them kudos though.
Yeah,
I give them kudos for making this game. This is their first big game, and it's really good. The opening of this game is epic as all.
Reviews are
heck,
great.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. But the end of the game, and a lot of people out there agreed with me. A lot of people don't. But a lot of people that don't agree with me haven't even got to the end of the game yet. And I'm like, just wait till you talk about it, please. Because it is, you could tell it's rushed.
Meg, did you hear much about the PlayStation 5 performance from friends or media or Digital Foundry, anything? Like, were you keyed in on
it was a mixed bag. It was a mixed bag from what I saw. I saw some people posting saying I've had no issues. It didn't seem like a big deal to me or whatever. And then I saw other people putting up some, we'll just call it mini reviews saying, the performance mode wasn't up to snuff on the PS5. It wasn't optimized well and this and that. So, like I said, again, it's a mixed bag. And I think a lot of it is based on personal opinion, I think, at this point, because if it's so opposite in trajectory as to what people are saying, that's at that point, there's no consistency to it. I'm like, well, I don't buy any of it then. So, but by listening to what Fonz is saying, who's actually finished the game, played the game, my concerns for the game are not the technical aspects, because technical aspects get ironed out over time. That's not an issue to me. That's like, essentially, we know how modern gaming is. Modern gaming is, if you play in the first month, you're the beta tester. And then, you know what I mean? And then over the next few months, they iron out the game and then they make it a better experience, right? And that's fine. That's fine. However, I do have concerns about when it gets to like the quality of life and gameplay issues, like the invisible, like what Fonz was saying, the invisible walls, the lack of direction, not knowing where you're going. The mini map thing is almost a make or break for me. Like I need a mini map. Like even when I played, what the hell is that? Sekiro Shadows Die Twice was the most irritating experience I've ever had in my entire effing life with no map. You know what could have been nice if like at least they let you go into the map like Elden Ring and stuff where you can pin a marker, and then go towards that, that way. You can't even do that in Wukong. Yeah, see, that's just really there's nothing showing you where to go. So, and there's a lot of reused stuff, assets sometimes. Like there is areas where you're walking and it's like, wait, didn't I just go up this ramp? No, it's a different ramp, but it's the same ramp, but it's in a different area. You know what I'm saying? Like there is times where you're like circling back and going, wait, is this new or old? I can't tell.
Can't you like leave your slippers at like a location so you can come back to them? Or
no, unfortunately you can't do that. But
I tried to play Cyberpunk with the mini map off because I thought, I'll learn the city, and unfortunately, we really rely on mini maps in games.
The thing is also, Fonz not right, and you're not wrong either. Sorry, Fonz is right, and you're not wrong. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. My bad. Apologies, gentlemen. what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of times where you're going to like, okay, well, I know where I'm going now. Here and go there, and then all of a sudden you're running in circles. I feel like Sam and Frodo in like the Two Towers.
We're going
in circles. Yeah, right. We're going in circles, and it's just like, oh my God, where am I going? Like this is ridiculous. And then you start wasting like half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour of your time just running in circles. Like, give me a break. Give me an area. And I know it sounds kind of like maybe a little bit pretentious of me saying like, oh, just give me a map so I can know exactly where I'm going, and that's all there is to it, like almost like an accessibility issue or anything. But it's still, to me, it just seems to be the kind of thing where I'm like, listen, give me a goddamn map. Show me where I'm going. Give me a little bit of purpose, and just say, listen, I'm going from A to B. Show me how to get. You don't have to show me exactly how to get there. Just have a waypoint, just like Font says. Let me drop a pin. Let me do something where I'd be like, all right, I'm heading in that direction. Doesn't mean I'm going to beeline from A to B. I might have to climb a mountain. Yeah. I might have to go through a forest. I might have to fight 2 bosses along the way. Whatever.
You may be able to climb that mountain if there's not an invisible wall. Or sometimes you can climb it, sometimes you can't. That is one of the fundamental problems I have with their levels. And people were like, why are you screaming about level design? It's fine. No, it's not when there's invisible walls here and there, and there's not in other places. It makes no sense.
Well, none of that
makes no sense.
None of that is really
a make or break for me.
Yeah, none of that is really the problem of why people are arguing about Black Myth WuKong. The problem is this supposed memory leak where people are saying, I saw a great clip by Reforged Gaming saying, I don't know what people are talking about when they say the game plays just fine on PlayStation 5. It doesn't. When you're playing in performance mode, you're getting half the frames you're getting are faked. They're latency ridden from interpolation. Oh, yeah. He explains the performance is horrible. You might as well play it at 30. And when you're playing at 30, what are we doing here? Which we'll talk about later on the show.
Lord Addict even confirmed that. He said he's playing it and he played it in performance mode and he had to turn it to the 30 frames mode. He said the latency was so bad when he hit the button to try to heal, it's just so late. And he was like, no, that's not the way to play it. So I don't understand how there's guys playing on PS5 like yelling at me saying mine runs just fine in performance mode. And I'm like, I've got friends telling me different, and they're playing it on PS5. I don't get it. Like,
well, that's what I was just saying. Here's I'm literally getting the opposite ends.
You know what it is, Mag? I think this is true. I think just like frames per second sometimes is imperceivable by some people. They really can't tell. There's people out there that can't tell 60 from 30. There's just those out there. I think it's the same way with these kind of latency issues. I think some people can't tell. I really do.
That's the only explanation I could think of because, like I said, I always go to my go-tos of my people who are either on PC or PS5 only. And when you get those games that are either exclusive or even accidentally exclusive, they give their little spiels about how it's running, how the performance, this and that, whatever. And like I said, I've gotten the complete opposite ends of the spectrum. I've heard no problems, it's great, this and that, whatever. And I'm like, oh wow, that's wonderful. And then I get another one with a laundry list full of issues, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Which one isn't? You know what I mean? Like the consistency's not there in people's perception of the game, and that's why I haven't been able to make an educated guess as to whether I'm going to purchase it or not eventually. But Fonz is making a compelling argument to not right now because gameplay stuff is a big thing for me. Like that, some of the stuff he mentioned is that's a deal breaker for me.
I'm not trying to dissuade you from buying it, but here's the thing I tell everybody, and I tell you too: wait, don't buy it right now. Only because of the problems it has. Only because of the issues that it has. And it's known issues even by game science themselves. They've come out and said it's going to take months for us to fix this stuff. And people are still telling me it runs perfect. If even game science says it's not, people.
Yeah, they're basically proving what is going on. And Digital Foundry's done a couple breakdowns on PC and PC plus versus PS5. Somebody in the chat, I'm trying to find it because I love to give them the props for saying it. It's right here. Magnum says, the Lords of the Fallen had that horrible memory leak. It's an Unreal Engine 5 issue. Now, I want to talk about the memory leak because it's part of what the lie is when they're talking about a memory leak on Xbox. I believe them 100%. They have a memory leak problem. The Series S has a low memory pool for the RAM pool, so that is going to be a problem getting the game optimized. If I was game science, I would make that game only 30 FPS on the Xbox Series S. But if you're a developer, you don't want to make those kind of concessions. And the bull crap that is part of the lie, Fonz, is that right now you can play Black Myth WuKong on the Steam Deck. Is it verified? I tried to find out if it's actually Steam Deck verified, but all over people on Reddit saying, yeah, you can get that game running on Steam Deck. The Steam Deck is less powerful than the Xbox Series S. So
True.
The PC version definitely has a memory leak issue where the longer you play, the more you build up in the game, it runs out of memory. It's not recycling it through, and the game crashes, or the performance takes a major hamper because it's all laden down from the memory leak or from all the RAM building up. I don't know how this stuff works. That's the best way I can describe it, okay? People are experiencing the same thing on PlayStation 5. They said, yeah, the longer you play it, the performance gets worse, or later on down the road when you play the game, the performance takes even, later chapters are bad. So what I get from that is that game science, and I don't want to bash them because I think off the very top of this, Mag, I would say Game Science made an incredible game. This is their first thing out the gate. It's AAA. It's really well reviewed. It looks amazing. It plays great. It's just not fully optimized, and they needed to delay it. The problem is they put it out on PC immediately and the PS5. And I'll say one last thing when you're talking about people who are like, oh, I can't see the difference. That's because there's people who might have their TV stuck outside of game mode. There's tons of people who don't have.
True.
There's
got
people who
motion
don't
on and all that.
Yeah, there's people who don't know the difference between 30 and 60. They probably have if you can't tell the difference between 30 and 60, more than likely you're letting your game play outside of game mode on a modern TV. Or you just don't care either way if it's one or the other or both. And that's why when people say it works just fine for me, I can sit here and tell you I've played tons of games that work just fine and still enjoyed them. And you can enjoy Black Myth WuKong even with performance issues. But
and let me say this though, even on with my rig, of course, it's high end, but you can play it. I can play the first 4 chapters easily at max settings, full ray tracing, everything, and still get hit 100 frames at times. It's that good. But then when you get to that 5th and 6th chapter, it takes a huge hit, and you got to back off of that. And that is just on a high-end PC. So people saying, oh, you got to wait for a 5090 for this. No, you don't. This game is very playable, even with the issues, if you back all kinds of stuff off. Yeah. But the thing is it's those inconsistencies with the issues that prove that it's unoptimization. It's not just Unreal Engine 5. There is a problem. There's inconsistencies with that. So, of course, it leads to development issues. And I think that this game, personally, I think it should have been delayed. I think they should have ironed these out before they put the game out. And to your point about playing on a Steam Deck, one of our guys, supporters, Danny Passion Official, he made a video on his ROG Ally. That's got 8 gigs of RAM. And he was able to, dumb it down and able to play the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's playing on those handhelds.
Yeah.
Not great, but it's playing.
The only review
Go ahead.
I was going to say the only review I trust right now is Serve in the chat. He said it runs fine on my Game Boy. So I believe him over everything else that we've talked about. Yeah, it's absolutely right. Percolator, I see you, dude. Anyways, what were you going to ask me, brother?
I was going to ask you, where are the reviews for PS5? They still say to be determined. The game's been out 7 days now, I think.
7 days. The reviews still. I remember the reviews weren't out for the first couple days, and then I was, I was on the road for a couple days, so I haven't seen any updates. But are there still no reviews for the PS5?
It's been out 7 days on PC and PS5. There are PC reviews, but PS5 reviews are to be determined. So
still held off.
I find it hard to believe. I'm going to look it up right now. I find it hard to believe that journalists who work full-time reviewing games, they're certainly not reviewing Concord, which we'll talk about later, because there are 12 reviews for Concord on PS5. So I'm sure those journalists aren't busy reviewing Concord right now. Where are the WuKong reviews for PS5? I'm going to go to it right now. If I look on all platforms.
Destin in the chat said, Destin said PS5 version wasn't available at launch.
Wasn't available at launch. Okay.
It wasn't?
Until launch.
What? So until launch. They didn't yes, I know that.
That's codes beforehand.
Okay. That's why I said the game's been out 7 days. If you're a full-time journalist, why haven't you started reviewing it? Why aren't they're coming in now? There are 4 reviews that came in today. They weren't there
because
this
I was
morning.
going to say, like, I was
how
able
they-
to
how
beat
they
it in
sit
3 days, and I did no life it though, so
Yeah.
there's that.
The thing is, sorry, go ahead, brother.
Oh no, I was just going to say a lot of people aren't there putting so many hours in a day like I did. So,
and I know it sounds calloused for me to say, if you're a full-time games journalist, like, you should be able to get through this game. Destin says he got access on Tuesday, this Tuesday. What, last Tuesday? Yeah.
Well, seeing that it's Monday, yeah.
Yeah. I don't review a lot of games, but when I am reviewing them, I play them like 6 to 8 hours a day, which kind of can be a real pain in the butt. The last major one I did was Starfield, and I played that for 10 days. So I don't know. It's interesting that there are not a lot of reviews out for. I was surprised. I did a post like a couple hours for the show, and there were not reviews. I think there are 4 now, and right now it's a 70 on PlayStation 5. So
regardless, this game made a splash.
oh yeah, dude.
And so this is something that's good, that could be good for future projects that they want to work on, everything else. They clearly now have the funding to be able to either make a sequel or move on and do some completely new IP. But when you sell upwards of 10 million in like the first 72 hours, whatever it is, you've got people in China buying PS5s, or for whoever's not on PC or everything else. This game made an impact. And that's great to see, because then it gives hope for an even better IP, a maybe better optimized game in the future, or even better optimize this game even better when they get around to it. They'll fix it, exactly. Yeah. So this is kind of like an Uncharted 2 situation for me, where you get Uncharted 1 and says, hey, okay, here's the studio, they released the big blockbuster game, whatever, Naughty Dog and all that. Let's see what they could do with the sequel. And what did they do with the sequel? Blew the doors right off. And so I could see them doing that too. And like I said, with the splash that they made now in this, and of course the market is starting to open up. You've noticed this now, I'm sure, where we're getting more of these studios and IPs out of like South Korea, for example, and now China. Now this market is starting to open up, and it's becoming a little bit more competitive, and people are starting to open the doors to this and say, hey, come on in, man, bring your product. Let's see what you got. And I think this is only good for gamers in the future. I think it's great that it's expanding. Well, it's expanding beyond the trifecta of North America, Europe, Japan. North America, Europe, Japan. The same three. Let's start spreading it out, because there's other people out there making games too. And I'm glad to see that they're putting AAA budgets into these games, and we continue to see that. I'm all for it.
Okay. Yeah. I need to say, because I did a lot of like griping about the performance, and we talked about some things that are unfinished for Black Myth WuKong, but really what this all started from was the announcement at Gamescom, when they said there were 10 million people playing Black Myth WuKong at launch. It broke Steam records. It was the most successful game to date this entire year, or maybe even one of the most successful games on Steam, period. And like you said, Mag, it was increasing sales of PS5s in China. It's a really big deal. And this small, newish studio hit a home run. Like, Black Myth WuKong is awesome. And like Fawn said, wait for it to get ironed out. And like I said, which I haven't played it, you probably could play through this game and get your money's worth and enjoy it if you can get past or forgive some of the things. Hold on, I got to say this.
Moreover, go ahead.
I got to say this, or else I won't get to it. When they announced that at Gamescom, and knowing that Phil's Xbox team is sitting there, when they missed out on another juggernaut super hit game, a banger. Last year, they sat there when Baldur's Gate 3 absolutely dominated the world with the best game of 2023, and Phil sat there with nothing because their console held them back, or their lack of able to support developers to get their game up in time on the Xbox console. This bothers me far more. Well, Indiana Jones going to PlayStation 5, we're going to talk about next. That really, trust me, that doesn't bother me. That's not even a big deal. Like, I don't care who plays the games I buy. But when Xbox misses out on one of the biggest games because of their incompetence in their hardware or their documentation with their porting process, that really ticks me off, because I'm just a customer, and there are millions of customers who are on Xbox that would want to play Black Myth WuKong. And all of the stuff that I griped about earlier on in this part of the show, I'll go this way for the audience. Earlier on in the show, it is really about Xbox missing out on great games and being, yet again, not able to sit at the big head table when it comes to the big games industry and popularity. That's what I just have to say that because it.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. The one thing I was going to say to Mag's point with game science is that the one thing this did, tell me is that game science is not playing, and game science with this being their first big game, I look forward to what they're going to do next, whether it be a sequel or not.
Yep.
They've made a name for themselves with Black Myth WuKong. Despite all the issues that I personally have with the game and that others are having, it doesn't matter. It sold 10 million plus copies in that amount of time. It's number one in every region. Number one. You can't underestimate that, and you can't just say, you can't downplay it and be like, well, the game is completely broken or anything. It's not broken, but it's got issues and it needs to be ironed out. And that's why I just tell people, like, it's kind of, I know what you're saying, Colt, that it sucks that it's not on Xbox, but at the same time, it's kind of a blessing in disguise, to be honest, because I mean, when I'm hearing stuff from my friends about the PS5 version, I'm like, I don't know how you can play that way, and that might irritate some people in the chat that are playing it on the PS5 currently that say, I have no problems. Well, Digital Foundry says otherwise, so does Game Science, so do my friends. And a lot of trusted
people said the same.
And I just,
It's major cap to stand there and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe Avowed, another Xbox first-party studio game, is going to be 30 frames, which I absolutely hate. But then to say, I'm playing Black Myth WuKong on my PS5 at 30, and Dragon's Dogma 2, one of the best games that came out this year, was also a 30 frames game on PS5 and Xbox Series X. And I don't know, there's some...
I think there's a bigger issue, though, here with it. The bigger issue is, when are we going to, as gamers, put our foot down on games that are coming out not ready, unfinished, pretty much? Like, it's not there. I don't understand.
Fonz, I barely buy games day one anymore because simply that reason, like I said about half an hour ago, where I said if you buy the game within the first month, you're the beta tester. And then I come along 3 months later, buy it at a discount, and the game is fully optimized and ready to rock. And most of the issues are ironed out. Jeremy Merchant, I see your question in the chat, and I actually don't have an answer for you, bud. He's asking about being able to play Black Myth WuKong on GeForce Now on Xbox, like maybe some kind of a loophole. And I'm not sure if that...
It just works. It just works.
Okay,
as Todd Howard said.
It is.
It's available via your Xbox controller on GeForce Now. You're playing on a 4080 PC. Like a $3,000 PC.
So the reason why I bought WuKong, I didn't buy it that night or whatever. It was the next morning when I picked it up, and the reason being is because the reviews that I saw were talking about the issues it had, but they were more alluding to it being an Unreal 5 being so demanding thing. And I go, well, that's okay. If it's just Unreal 5 and I just have to pare down some settings to play the game and I won't have any issues really. That's the kind of understanding that I had. But when I got into it, I found out pretty quickly that it was more than just Unreal Engine 5 being demanding. There are issues with optimization, and there are quality of life issues within the game that not a lot of people were talking about at all. Nobody was like, I didn't read or hear anything about a mini map or a lack thereof. And I was like, why not?
Maybe
that might seem...
The invisible walls. I heard one person talk about the invisible walls. That was it. One person talked about it. And I thought, okay, well, it's linear, whatever. But no, it's open in some areas and not in some in the same level. And I'm like, well, how can I discern which is which unless I test every freaking invisible wall?
Well, you're not a tester. Like, you know what I mean? You're not sitting there like, okay, can you please run the character into every wall and see what happens and then report it back to us so we can, go back and work on the game. That's not what you're there for. You're there to enjoy yourself and play the experience because it's supposed to be, at that point, a released entertainment experience for you, right? So that, like, you're not supposed to sit there and figure out where you can and cannot go. So, and again, once some of the things that you've said to me now has me on the fence, and it's not the technical issues, it's the quality of life issues that I don't think I'm going to be able to get past, and that's that's going to dampen my experience as a gamer, because I have certain expectations for myself. I'm not trying to be like spoiled, like this doesn't have X, Y, and Z.
It's all about us. Gaming is a selfish hobby, so we want to play the games the way we want to play them. Just like when I was on console, I wanted the option between 60 and 30. Okay, I wanted that option. That's me. Okay, in this game, I want a mini map. So do a lot of other people. I wasn't the only one, because I looked it up. I was like, wait a minute. Is anybody else complaining about this lack of mini map? Sure enough, there are a lot of people. And I see Tyler 1989 in the chat says, there's no reason for a map. It's easy to find your way around. Yeah, at the beginning it is. Later on, it isn't. So
it's a weird quality of life update. They're like, hey, we put a mini map in. That'd be kind of a big deal. They obviously didn't want to do that at all.
Sofa King is right in the chat here. He's just said, God Emperor Sofa King. He's like, if you're gaming like Digital Foundry, you're not really gaming.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're not sitting there looking for flaws. You're trying to go and enjoy yourself and play the game. And I just don't want to do that.
Yeah, but when the game stutters and drops frames by 20, like at times you see that. They're jarring. It's not something that you can just overlook and be like, oh, that's nothing. No.
Today I loaded up Starfield and tried the new land vehicle. And I was in a very, very packed planet, Jemison, where Atlantis is. And I tried to drive around. The frame rate was going, I don't know what it was, but when Digital Foundry shows the frame rate doing this, having huge dips, it was dipping down what looked like it was at 60, then it ran at 30 for a couple seconds, back up to 60, and it jumped up and down, and it was so visually glaring, and it was so hard to control or enjoy. God Emperor Sofa King, there are times where I'm playing Star Wars Outlaws, and it is so low resolution, and the lighting model is so flat. I'm getting the game at 60 frames, and I'm like, is this really what I wanted? It doesn't really feel very nice, and I'm not getting like the treatment I would expect from a $500 console. But I want to talk about this.
Here's the one thing I wanted to bring up real quick. Digital Foundry, I don't know how far they get in games when they do their analysis, because we only see the very beginning of the game when they talk about it.
They only go a couple hours in, Fonz.
See, the problems really take a hit later on. I'm talking chapter 5, chapter 6. And it is not just frames. It's not frame timing, any of that. It's not just that. It's also the lighting that they praise so much. The lighting is broken in certain areas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the lighting is broken in certain areas. And you'll see it, and it looks beautiful. You walk forward a little bit more, and all of a sudden it just dims, and it doesn't look right. You're like, wait a minute, that's not right. And you can back up, and it's vibrant and beautiful. Walk forward, and it's dim. And you're like, wait, that's not right. So I looked it up, and other people were saying the same thing. Yeah, the lighting's broken in this area. I was like, oh.
They clearly rushed the game out.
I don't think Digital Foundry gets very far.
I love Digital Foundry, but I'm pretty sure I've watched so many videos. They clearly go a couple hours into the game because they have so much work to do to analyze what's there. And it's not often, Fonz, that later on, but there are the later levels in games that are more demanding. So they don't get a full, thorough analysis, but what they get is pretty close. But this is an example, you're right, with Black Myth WuKong, where they might be missing how it's probably worse. Let me read some supers. I want to get into talking about Indiana Jones and why that is bothering everybody. Born of the Grave, thank you so much for the $5 super. It's good to see you guys back at it as well, Fonz. I'll listen to you geriatrics tomorrow while I work. Have a great show. Thank you. You can check out the show on Spotify and iTunes on podcasts on demand. We've got the audio and video version there on Spotify. You can see Mag's lovely face. You can see Fonz's handsome face. And you can see my catcher's mitt of a face with my little squinty eyes. We appreciate you. Lotus Esprit, thank you so much. They gifted 10 channel memberships about a half an hour ago. Thank you for doing that. People get early access to videos. And when you become a channel member, you can go watch my Forza Horizon 6 plus Blur video that I made for racing fans. I don't know if anybody's interested in that video, but it's only channel members only. And I don't know. Check it out. And please leave a comment. Let me know what you think of it. There's no comments on there. You could be the first. We've got Chris R. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. It feels like Xbox only advertised Game Pass to people that already have it. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
Like, what's the point? He's absolutely right. You're advertising to people that already have it, and I'm like, what are you doing? You're not gonna like split me in half and turn me into 2 subs. What's the matter with you? You're supposed to go out there and like bring people and whatever. I'm not gonna get into it.
I was talking to I think it was Game Seeker that said that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Game Seeker. We were messaging each other, and he said he was talking to some of his friends at work that work in IT, and they're all nerds. They like games, and he's like, they didn't even know what Game Pass was. There's more here on Chris R. He said, wouldn't getting a new subscriber be better for revenue than one-off purchases on a competing system? This is such a great super chat, Chris R. Thank you so much for this. The whole thing's brilliant. He says, wouldn't it be better to get a new subscriber for revenue than a one-off purchase? Absolutely, no. And I've said the same thing.
I'm going to disagree.
Okay, well, let's argue about this, Mag. First. I'll say mine. Yes, my take is that a residual revenue stream of Game Pass of let's say $12 to $18 a month for 2 years. I think they would make more money than if people buy the very few first-party Xbox games that they want. Now, Xbox can put out 4 or 5 first-party games every year, big and very small. And let's say Chris R. is the one who's like, should I subscribe to Game Pass for these next 2 years of roadmap, or should I just buy the games? I think Xbox would make far more money off of him every month with Game Pass and keeping him stringing along with great games that come to the service and the first-party games than if he buys a handful of those games outright, because that's really what it's about. If South of Midnight, if you're gonna should I buy that or should I subscribe? My take is, and Mag's going to disagree, I think they would make more money in the long run by keeping someone month to month. Mag, you have the floor.
Here's the thing: if they could keep you in the subscription service, I could see that being somewhat successful. But as you're seeing across Hollywood and now, you're seeing that the subscription service is starting to falter. And it was something that was starting to gain in popularity during the pandemic for obvious reasons. A lot of people were home and whatever else. And then it started to dwindle down. And now look what's happening. They're all falling apart, except for Netflix is the only one that seems to be surviving. Even Paramount now is starting to sell off all their, not all of them, but they're selling off portions of their studios. Disney Plus had to partner up with Hulu. It's just not the same. What ends up happening is people are fickle. They'll subscribe for a bit, unsubscribe. Subscribe for a bit, unsubscribe. It goes up and it goes down and whatever else. And people will use and abuse that. And the other thing is, too, is that in order to keep people in that subscription service, they have to continuously pound out content that costs them millions and hundreds of millions of dollars to get that content in there. You cannot release 4 games a year and expect someone to say subscribe the entire time. Some people will. A lot of people won't.
You need the other games. You need the other ones, right, that they don't do.
You're right. You're going to need those ones that they don't do. But the problem is that costs a ton of money to keep them in there, get them in there, and have that content coming in. And that's where people are saying, you know what, this is just not worth it. I'm just going to buy the game. And that model worked for Hollywood. That model worked for the video game industry for literally decades and decades and decades. And now look at them. Because people aren't spending, I mean, apart from the 1 or 2 a year, like your Deadpool and your Barbie last year and this and that, whatever, you're not getting those multi-billion dollar blockbuster movies. The video game industry, like I said, for decades, it's worked off that model as well, and it's been extremely successful. And of course, the only one who's actually doing it, like by putting all their chips in, is Microsoft. And I mean, you just mentioned it. You have people that don't even, IT guys who don't even know what Game Pass is. Yeah. It's been out for 7 years. And you still don't know what it is. That's crazy to me. By the way, I don't even want to say your name, but Munger Coochie. I don't recall Ninja. That's his name. I'm not going to repeat that. Yeah, no, it's way up there. He goes, I don't recall Ninja Garden having a map. I don't recall Ninja Gardening being a thing, actually. So that's a great comment. I'm just picturing tilling the soil very quietly. So
with that rake on the sand.
Yeah, like planting flowers very quietly, and then all of a sudden the guy turns around and goes, "How did those get there? Must have been that Ninja Garden." Sorry, he said. Yeah.
Noise Flomo says you're Barbie, Mag. That's a.
I am Barbie. I am Barbie.
Fonz, where do you sit on? Mag says they can make more money selling their games outright. I think they could make more money getting people into Game Pass. What's your opinion? For Chris R.
I think they can. I think they should just keep trying to do both. But here's the funny thing about it. It's like the more they keep putting over there on that side, it's just going to be harder and harder to entice people to come to Game Pass.
Oh, the more games they put onto PlayStation.
Yeah. Well, not just, I mean, PlayStation, Nintendo. What is going to compel people to buy an Xbox? The new people. I'm not talking about people that are already in the ecosystem. Most of you that are in the ecosystem and deep, no, I mean, you know, all the North American Xbox gamers, because that's pretty much where we're at, you know, that are gaming on Xbox. We will continue to buy that next console.
What about what Mag said? What about what Mag said? He said a lot of people dip in and out of Game Pass, subscribe and unsubscribe.
I don't know how many are doing that, to be honest.
We don't know.
I have no idea, but the numbers, I don't know. I don't want to talk about the numbers because the last time we heard, it wasn't that impressive to me, especially
it's like sitting at like 30 million. So doesn't it look like you fawns that
all their Xbox Live Gold and all that? It's
so. Fawns, would you think that 20-some million people subscribe to Game Pass somewhere in the past couple of years and just kind of sat there? I don't know if there's like an up and down like Mag said.
That happens to a lot of subscription services, right? Some people just subscribe and just forget about it and just, you know, continue to pay.
Yes.
And it happens. But, and I think a lot of these companies bank on that happening. However, like with me, I'm sort of picking and choosing which ones I want to continue with. I've been better about that with Movie and you know, all the different streaming apps. But I've looked at like Star Wars Outlaws, for instance. I'm interested to just play it. So I'm not expecting anything crazy. So I don't want to buy the game. So I'm going to subscribe to Ubisoft Plus, play the game, and unsubscribe because I don't want to stay subscribed to it.
There it is. Strauss Zelnick said the same thing about Game Pass in regards to Call of Duty when someone asked him, what was it, sometime this week? If anybody doesn't know who Strauss Zelnick is, he's the CEO of Take-Two, you know, a very unsuccessful company, as we all know.
The Grand Theft Auto guy,
Yeah, they are the Grand Theft Auto guys, right? So he even said so himself. He says, yeah, I could see it going up, and then I could see it going back down. He goes, by December, the numbers will go right back down to what they were before. Like, I can absolutely see it because, you know what? If Strauss Zelnick doesn't know, then who? I mean, these are guys who are in the industry and they know. If I know, he knows. Everybody, you know, other people in the industry know. That's exactly what's going to happen. It's a great supplementary service. It can't be your end all, and they've realized that too. And Microsoft has realized that Game Pass is not the end all, and that leads us into our next topic of games going to PlayStation.
Yep.
Because if that wasn't the case, and you think I'm not, oh, Mag, you're lying, or this, that, and the other thing. What do you know? Because that's exactly what Microsoft is doing. They know that Game Pass is not the model that's working. So therefore, now they're selling. What did Phil say 3 days ago? I'm running a business. This is a business.
I got to say,
selling the games on PS5. There's a reason for it.
I got to say, when it comes to the Game Pass thing, I'm probably the one who's wrong. And Fonz and Mag are the ones who's right, because when Mag says they're going to put games on PlayStation, that's them absolutely saying they want to do both. They want to try and get subs, and they want to sell games as much as they can.
It's a great supplementary service. It's not the end all be all.
My issue,
clearly they've shown that it is not the end all be all because it's not working the way that they want it to. Excuse me. It's working, but it's not working the way they expected it to. And now they have to expand their business outward. The same way that 10 years ago, or however many years ago it was, where Microsoft said, our games are now going to PC day and date because the Xbox One was faltering.
Yep.
And it wasn't selling the way it should. So they had to expand out to the PC day and date. And then Game Pass. And then Game Pass, Game Pass day and date. And now PS5. Delayed, and then eventually PS5 games, some of the Xbox games will be going to the PS5 day and date. So same thing. Like they're doing it, like I said, it's all supplementary services that add up at the end of the day.
I think part of the problem when they went to PC initially was the fact that they weren't getting big games out consistently. And I think that's been a problem for them for a long time. But now that they have so many, studios under their belt, I don't see that being much of an issue anymore. And it's like, now that you do, why aren't you trying to go that route? not that I'm advocating or saying that what they're doing now is a terrible thing for me or anything, because I honestly I don't care. I don't have any.
It doesn't affect us, Fonz.
But the thing is, it will affect the console base and possibly Game Pass in the future.
Absolutely.
And that's where I look to it and I go, okay, I can see that happening. And that sucks if Game Pass goes away because it's not sustainable. And I don't want to just say it that way, but that's the only thing I can think of there. But not just that, but what if Game Pass just gets too expensive? That's the other opposite side of the coin, where they could just keep, upping the price every couple of years. And then it gets to a point where most people are like, man, I'm not paying $25, $30 for a subservice.
Well, I mean, they're giving the PC players the best value and they're giving console players the worst value.
That's why
they
don't
want to continue to make hardware.
Yeah.
They don't want to continue making hardware. They're only making hardware begrudgingly at this point, next generation. I think that what they would rather do is that they'd rather just have people access Microsoft, not have to pay the tens of millions of dollars in R&D, production, manufacturing, packaging, selling, shipping, and all that kind of crap just to be able to, for 25 million people to buy the product. That's not a small number, but it's not the numbers that they're looking for. I think at this point, they just want access, like a Fire Stick or something.
Absolutely. Mag's right. Phil did say that it's an easy 20 to 30 million people if they make a next-gen console, but the way they treat the console, it's like kind of embarrassing to say, how are you supposed to grow this platform, which the west side of the, or what do you say, the Americas, there, somebody say? Yeah, the Americas and the Canadas and the South Americas, right? That side of the globe there's a lot of Xbox people. There's really nobody on the other side of the curvature of the earth, if you believe in such a thing, and I do.
I thought the earth was flat.
It is flat.
How dare you?
It's roundish flat.
It's flat as a pancake.
Oh.
I mean, if you keep sailing in the ocean, you just fall right off.
You do. Yeah. You just have to watch out. You fall off, and then you sail to the edge of the earth, Mag, and you fall off, and down there is all the Xbox studios trying to get games out, way down there in the middle of nowhere. We got Baldy McNosehair. Thank you so much for the Canadian.
Now, what a great name. Yeah, what a great name. Sorry, go ahead.
Baldy McNosehair with the Canadian 20 says,
I like it.
Black Myth WuKong being delayed indefinitely for Xbox sucks. However, there is a game I think Xbox should keep an eye on. Visions of Mana. It's available on Xbox. Do you guys have any interest in the game? I think it's going to be a sleeper hit.
Yes.
I played the demo, and if I could get over the, it's such a cool looking game, and it's so cutesy. If I could get over that, if I didn't have so much hair on my chest, I wish I could play that game. It's. I just feel like I'm too old to play it. It's really a beautiful game, and the combat feels kind of cool. I don't know.
You know what? You're not too old to play it, man. I'm looking forward to playing the game myself.
Well, yeah, there's the demo. You should play it.
No, I know the demos. I'm in Red Dead land right now. Leave me alone, okay? Call me back when I'm done, okay?
Yeah. No, it does look good. Baldy McNosehair.
I don't care. I can play all these different kind of games. It doesn't matter what it looks like or whatever. But I don't know, man. The whole topic about
hold on
Game Pass.
Hold on, Fonz. Hold on.
But
you said you want to be able to relate to your characters, and you can relate to a little blonde-haired 12-year-old in a dress, little blonde-haired boy wearing he looks like he's wearing bloomers.
There's a caveat to everything, right? Because I didn't relate to Frogger either. But the thing is, the game's got to be fun as well. Okay, and the game's got.
And Vision of Mana does feel pretty fun, yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, I played as a square in Atari freaking games. Okay,
come on, Meg, tell me, give us your opinion on playing the little girly fairy games and why you love them so much.
Visions of Mana actually, thanks. Visions of Mana actually looks really cool. I just never played the demo, but it looks great. When I first saw it, I'm like, you know what, this looks actually really good. So give it a shot if I can get my hands on it. Why not?
Yeah, it's cool looking.
Yeah, it looks great to me.
Combat looks fun.
Yeah. Try the demo. What's that?
Sofa King. Microsoft doesn't make laptops; they make laptops.
Oh,
just so you know.
Yeah.
Did I ask you guys?
1521 got it. You won't get an honest answer. What the hell is that supposed to mean?
I'm going to ask you guys. I'm writing in the chat, Mag. You tell me how you pronounce this word. I'm writing in the chat.
Grocery.
Fonz?
There's no SH. I know what you're about to say. Somebody say grocery. There's no SH in a C sound.
What, Fonz?
Grocery.
Grocery.
I say grocery.
There's no SH, Colt.
I don't know. I just do, all right? That really leads me to my next super chat. Red Wolf says immediately, which is something I said to him on the phone today. I was talking about something and I said immediately, and we both laughed hysterically for like 7 minutes.
Immediately?
Yeah, I don't know why. Because I was about to trail the next part of my sentence had a cuss sound. And instead of saying immediately, I said immediately. And he has a friend who uses the word apparently, like a real word. He thinks the word is apparently they're coming over this weekend. And I said immediately on total accident. Shout out for Red Wolf for the super. We laughed our heads off today. And go watch his Starfield update video about the Shattered Space info and the new Land Rover thing. He does great short videos. Like I said,
sub to him.
Sub to him. He's at 1,500 subscribers.
Yeah.
1,500.
Get him up past Colt. Hey, that's our goal. Get him past Colt. We want him at 100,000 plus. Let's go, Red Wolf. Let's go.
Shout out to Red Wolf in the chat. And if you click his name in the chat, hopefully he writes something right now. He's probably sleeping. You can go to his channel.
Hargeet just said, I can't say it, but look what Hargeet said.
Hold on.
I did see that.
If you pronounce grocery, you might be. What does that mean?
Oh, did you say a redneck?
Oh, yeah. You can say redneck.
Is that what he said? I thought he was.
Yeah, redneck.
I thought he was going with the.
You can write Alex redneck in the chat, Hargeet. We're a bunch of white dudes over here. This is Cracker Central over here.
I'm not white.
Oh, what? Wait, you're Italian?
I'm Italian. JV Smoove.
You're Anglo-Saxon.
Wait, no, I'm not. We defeated you. We defeated you.
I'm Norwegian, so I'm as white as white can be. What are you, Fonz?
Scottish.
You're what? You're half Filipino by
growing up within the culture. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, my dad. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Fonz's dad.
Your friend says courslaw. You should literally stop. You should unfriend that guy immediately. Like immediately. Like not even an ifs, ands, or buts.
I'm pretty sure I say grocery more. I know I use the word grocery, but I think I use the word grocery more. And I also say coupon and not coupon. But that's not what the show is all about. Illuminati85 has a $2 super chat with 17 thumbs up. And he says, Colt, the PS5 numbers are 70 Metacritic for WuKong. And I think we're done talking about WuKong for a bit.
Great.
That's not.
Love
that's
it.
not.
Ruin XVX1 says, Colt and friends, do y'all like shawarma wraps?
Yes.
No.
I think I've had one. They're like Indian wraps. Shawarma
no,
wraps?
I don't think they're Indian. No,
they're not Indian. But yeah, they're good. But you got to put put hot pepper and like spice and everything.
What are they then?
You can't just have
Did I just culturally inappropriate
He's like, you got to
something?
add seasoning to it.
Got to add seasoning to Fonz. Sometimes
I got it.
Sometimes he doesn't get spicy enough. Yodani Kizada, who's been a channel member and the moderator of the XNC Podcast for 55 months, says, I have thought about getting GeForce Now to get some of these games that skip Xbox at the beginning. Anyone else? Fonz has played.
It's great. GeForce Now, it was incredible. I played it last year before Hargeet sent me this awesome PC. I was playing GeForce Now because I wanted higher frame rates. Got sick and tired of being told you can't have 60 frames, and everybody in the community yelling at me saying, no 60 frames, Fonz. Have that same energy with movies then, Fonz. Stuff like that. I got sick of it. So I played on GeForce Now.
Somebody really did say that, Mag.
Yeah, somebody really did tell me to have the same energy with movies. I should watch all my movies in 60 frames too.
Oh my God, good Lord. There's funny. By the way, to answer the chat, it's from Turkey. It's a Turkish cuisine.
Oh,
okay, there it is.
Shout out to
Zucker. What they do is they put out those big. What? He's Greek.
He hates. Never mind.
Same thing.
The Greeks? Yeah.
Same thing, right, Zucker?
Yeah, they're the same. They're the same, yeah.
Oh,
it's just like when you tell, dude, you want to piss off a Greek, tell them that, Greek and Macedonian, and just say, the same thing. You just like one island over.
It's a kebab.
Watch them completely lose their mind. That's when they get into that, like one of the guards from Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Malaka. Yeah,
the Euros versus shawarmas. It's Euros versus shawarma.
Yeah, there you go. guys are making me hungry.
Oh,
Grandpa's Barbecue Game Cat asks Mag, did you try VR your relative? Wait, off topic. Mag, did you try VR your relative has yet?
Oh,
Hooked on Phonics worked for me.
Yeah. I was gonna say like that. I was like, what? I think he's talking about the MetaQuest 3. Because I have a MetaQuest 2, but I don't have a MetaQuest 3 yet. And I was going to get it. I wanted to give that a shot because that new Batman game is coming out. The new Arkham game.
Yeah.
It's coming only for MetaQuest 3. And I'm like, well, that needs to be played. So I'm assuming that's what he's talking about.
It's not on PlayStation VR 2. Like,
isn't that a big miss? Like, that's a big miss. They got to be. Well, you know what the thing is? At this point. Well, I think at this point, maybe Facebook had. Or whatever you want to call Meta. I'll never call them Meta. It's like calling Twitter X. They obviously have a deal. You know what I mean? So PlayStation wouldn't be sitting on the sidelines with their feet on the table, going, an Arkham game in VR. Who cares?
They never have to do that. No.
But you know what? I bet you $1 million says that Meta probably paid to get that game on their system first, right? So they could sell more for the holidays, right? You sell more headsets for the holidays. So why not? And those headsets are selling really well because they're affordable. That's a big difference right there. So I could see it coming to the PSVR 2 and maybe in sometime in 2025. But yes, I will be playing it this Christmas because that's going to be a guaranteed buy that he's going to buy, even if I have to pay for it. But I'll buy the game for him, and I gotta play Arkham in VR. Like, that sounds hot, man.
Now I understand what he wrote. Now it makes sense. It's just missing a comma. Yeah, now I understand. Thank you, Grandpa's Barbecue Game Cat. And we all can write, but none of us can read. So I can't read either. Spartan661, thank you so much for gifting 5 Colteastwood memberships. 5 more people can go watch that Forza video. It's got blur footage from PC. It's pretty cool looking. Boner Jam's our good friend. Oh my gosh, I got to go on their podcast again. Mag, you know what, Mag? I should get them to have you stop by for an hour and be on their podcast. They just talk about whatever.
Sure.
And these guys are hilarious.
Podcast? What?
My brother's podcast. They run Under the Bus podcast on Wednesday nights at I think 6:00 p.m. our time. So it'd be like 9 for you, Mag. But I think you would have an absolute blast with these guys. They just talk about whatever. I always say they talk about guitar and music stuff, but they've turned into just whatever podcast.
Whatever podcasts are usually the best.
You would love it, and they would love you.
Because it's like listening to talk, like you just like talking to people about just stuff, and it's interesting and compelling. As long as the people are interesting and compelling, then it doesn't matter what you're talking about.
Oh yeah,
I love that kind of stuff, man.
I had so much fun. Boner, if you're still here, I think you are. If you have Twitter, go to Mag's link in the description and send him a message or tweet him, tell him to come on sometime. You'll have a great time. He says, Mag and the Fawns, absolutely crushing Pink Toscaderos, Lady Nether Regions. The Nether Regions. Pink Toscaderos.
My Lord in heaven.
Oh my gosh, the pimento taco is in full effect. He says, love the new high type of bouffant cult. Happy almost Halloween season. Oh my gosh, my kids start school tomorrow.
Oh, I'm so excited. Halloween.
Yeah. I know, it's like, I love you guys so much, but please get out of the house. Please go. Love you. Love you.
Oh, the kids. Yeah, the kids. Yeah.
What were you talking about?
No, usually that's what my wife says. She's like, I love you, but please go. Just go. Get out of the house. But, But I keep finding my way back home. She keeps dropping me off in random places, and I keep finding my way back.
That's because you leave your slippers at the door, and you're like, all right, I know where I'm going. God, Emperor Sofa King, thank you so much for the 2. Says, if Surface lives on, Microsoft will not stop making Xboxes. Surface is doing well. That's the rumor. The Surface team might be helping in some capacity with the next Xbox console. That is correct.
You know what? The whole thing about, Xbox consoles going away. Look, Xboxes will be around. In my opinion, this is just my thought here. I think they'll be around just as long as any PlayStation. All right. When PlayStation consoles go away, so will everything else. Everything else will be gone too. But they'll just have some other form of playing games or accessing your games.
Even if the Xbox console just continues to lag far behind PlayStation, I don't think Xbox is going to give up that spot in the market, along
it may die in more regions. It may die in more regions. But in North America, and you'll still be able to get one.
The thing is also is that if it's going to be co-made and co-developed by the Surface team, that means it's going to be something that's done in-house, and it's going to have a different solution as opposed to having to send off having boxes built in Vietnam and in the Philippines and in South America, and have them mass produced, sent out everywhere, spend hundreds of millions of dollars doing all this, and then people aren't buying them. That's a whole different thing. If you start making them in-house, and I don't mean making them in-house, but I mean if they're developed in-house and there's some kind of a solution where you have access as opposed to having a dedicated box after this next generation that's coming out, then all they're looking for is PC, PS5, and access to an Xbox app. That's what they would prefer. And I'm not saying they're stopping. See, people twist what I say. I didn't say they're stopping. I said they don't want to make them.
Yep.
Because it's costing them a lot of money. And in the end, that's what they're trying to do. And they're slowly pushing you in that direction. If you can't see it, then you're one of the lemmings that are going off the cliff, dude. What can I tell you?
Yep. Cygnus in the
because
chat.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're quietly pushing you 1 inch at a time closer to the cliff. And then, all the idiots are going, I don't know what happened. And they fall off the cliff. And then the rest of us are standing on the side going, dude, can't you see the guys pushing you off the cliff? Right? And that's what's happening. And anyway, sorry, that's the best analogy I can come up with.
No, it's great. Cygnus in the chat says they won't go away, but it won't be traditional. Absolutely. The next console.
God no.
It will not be just an Xbox console, or else it'll never live. So
like I don't need it. And I think that what's going to happen is as each generation passes, you're going to find that as they're pushing people away from it. I know this is sort of diving into this next topic here, but when you get to a point now where you have a discerning consumer who can only afford, let's say, one box or one access point for video games, right? Whatever it happens to be, PC or some kind of a console or a Switch 2 or whatever the hell it's going to be, people will opt for a PlayStation 6. And the reason for that is that you'll be able to play first-party Xbox games, first-party PlayStation games, which you can't play on PC. So actually, it's a better choice than PC, and you get to play the third-party games. So you're actually getting the best of all three worlds in one box. And people could say all they want about PC. It's fine. They say like, yeah, we get PS5. We get PS5 games too on PC. Sure you do. Anywhere from a year to 3 years later, right? But if you want to get those experiences day one, the only place you're going to be able to do that is on that one console. And so that's where and Microsoft doesn't care. Microsoft doesn't care because you're buying their product anyway. They're making their 70% publisher fee off of it. Right? And they're going to be making money hand over fist as long as they keep cranking out games that people, they have to crank out games that people actually want to play outside of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Right? And because of that, that's what's going to end up happening. So you're going to see that those numbers are going to dwindle even further and further, but Microsoft doesn't care because they're going to be making billions of dollars off of you anyway. And that's the goal.
Like I said, I think you and I talked about it late in January of 2024. You and I said this, like, if game sales is higher than what they can make on Game Pass, games will start going to PlayStation 5. Let's talk about Indiana Jones going to PlayStation 5. The exclusivity window is smaller than we ever expected. Well, I've been hearing about this for quite a while, thanks to the long conversation with Nate the Hate, that Indiana Jones would come 3 months after the release. I was shocked to see that. Well, no, I'm not shocked to see that Indiana Jones is releasing in December, especially after my preview. I'll need the floor for just a moment. I had a early preview of Indiana Jones a few days before Gamescom. It was on a Thursday. Gamescom was on Monday. Okay. So this is about, I don't know, a week and a half ago. I can't do the math right now. I got an early preview early in the morning, 8:00 in the morning. I got up, watched a live stream from Machine Games and Bethesda. They showed us a 30 to 40 minute segment of a brand new mission in Indiana Jones. We got to sit and watch it on a screen with our name watermarked on it, so we couldn't capture it or use it. And it was a mission where Gina, the Italian assistant or sidekick, goes with Indiana Jones underneath the Sphinx in Egypt to a secret location to find an artifact, pull it from its pedestal, break it open to get what they need inside, and then escape as all the traps start to come out. Classic Indiana Jones thing. The gameplay was very heavy and puzzle-based. The first thing they did was they grabbed mirrors and turned them towards central points. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've done this like twice in the Tomb Raider games, and I've done it a couple times in the Uncharted games. And I'm like,
and also I've done it in Assassin's Creed too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I was kind of like, really? We're turning the light mirrors into, okay. And I'm just watching. And then, he escapes, and every time you mantle, parkour, whip, or anything, it goes into third person, comes right back to first. I'm like, why do you do that? Just leave it in third person. What I get from the game, from Indiana Jones, is it's very puzzle heavy, and I feel like it may be very light on combat, which some big story-based games can be light on combat at times. I just came away impressed with the game, but I feel like maybe it's more about puzzles and exploration than it is combat. The revolver, Meg, seems like you can use this once in a while. He comes up and he's like, bang, and he shoots one round out of the revolver and puts it back. So you're not meant to go in and go pop, 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 whip, punch, punch, punch. I didn't see any gameplay like that.
He never did that in the movies anyway.
So
he fired 2 bullets in Temple of Doom. He fired 1 bullet. He fired 2 bullets in Temple of Doom from the taxi cab outside of the Obi-Wan Club Obi-Wan in Shanghai, and he fired 1 bullet in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay,
and
wow.
He went to pull out his gun and realized that the gun wasn't there at the end of Temple of Doom, and he didn't have it. And then, of course, in Last Crusade, he had the MP40 where he shot the 3 Nazis in the castle when he go to rescue his father.
Where did you get this info? You've looked this up before?
No, I've watched the movies like 300
the movies.
times.
Yeah. I mean, but here's the thing: it's a video game, right?
Okay.
And you want fun within your video game, and
that's true.
And you need to be more. You need to exaggerate a bit more. You can't just stick with the story completely, with the movie anyway, and just be like, this is how we're going to do this and that. A puzzle thing, yeah, it's Indiana Jones. There's going to be puzzles. If it's mostly puzzles, though, and very light on combat, the way you're saying, it doesn't appeal much to me because I'm not a big puzzle gamer.
I'm not either. I can
love puzzles in games. I like light puzzles.
Yeah.
Here and there. Like the Assassin's Creed stuff doesn't bother me because it's mostly action. But if it's mostly puzzles, it's not my thing.
But I don't want to. I don't want to doom and gloom it. I don't want to see that. Yeah, I don't either. Because
I'm just saying, if it's that way, I am still looking forward to the game. I want to experience it. I hope they set up a great story and they set up a franchise, not just a one-off.
Yeah.
I hope they're able to knock it out of the park and create something that we'll see more of in the future, because Indiana Jones could be a fantastic franchise.
Yeah, and I want to say that I have to reiterate, because if you've been watching the XNC podcast for a while, you've heard me cautiously optimistic about Indiana Jones, and I've expressed my my cautions about how the game's going to turn out. Like, I thought, it could be an 80 or an 82. It could be an 84. I don't know. Like, I don't know how good it's going to be. After the preview, I was I was impressed. I talked to one of the other previewers right afterwards, and they were like, I'm more excited than I was before. I'm like, yeah, I am actually more positive about it than I was. And there's some really cool stuff there. But I was really bothered was that there's a Q&A after the preview we watched, the mission. There's a Q&A with the Machine Games developers. We wrote in questions, and they immediately on the live stream answered them. And they said that they would provide us with assets so we could make content afterwards. Well, this was a Thursday, and I was leaving on Monday for my family vacation for the week during Gamescom. The whole weekend, no assets. I was planning on making an Indiana Jones preview video on Sunday and leaving on Monday for vacation, and then the Gamescom stuff would kick off. Finally, Monday morning, as we're packed up and ready to drive out of the driveway, I get an email from them. So here's your assets, and it is 5 of the most dull, drab, boring screenshots that gave you no context or excitement about the game. One was a close-up of Indy going. Another one was Indy. The other one was Indy hanging off of a side of a.
Oh man!
He was hanging off the side of he was climbing like the inside of a temple. And Meg, you'll love this. You remember in Ace Ventura when he's climbing around the pool to get to the dolphin clue, and the camera pans out, and he's like this high off the ground. It was Indy, like literally like 2 feet off the ground, sideways, with his leather jacket on. He's holding on
2 feet.
And it looks so. I could put it up on screen if I could get to it, but I'm not going to bother. And then the best one was him holding a map, and like the Egypt marketplace in the daytime is ahead of him, so you see his hands in first person. I mean the point is, I was supposed to make content and get excited, or maybe give you guys an insight of what Indiana Jones is going to be. They said, do not use the footage that we showed you. Here's 5 screenshots and some logos. And I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me. So I didn't make any content. I drove off and went on vacation. And then that day, or the next day it was, I'm sorry, I'm rambling. The next day they announced Indiana Jones is coming out December 9th. I think it's December 9th, December 8th, which I think is an awful, horrible time to release a blockbuster franchise game, first party from Xbox Studio. I've said it before. I know people say Game Pass, you can release a game anytime. Bullshiz. You didn't release anything big during the summer months, but you're going to release something after Christmas, after the Black Friday rush, after the North American. What's that?
And after the Game Award.
After the Game Awards.
Can I counter? Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
Matt. All right.
Here's
Take it.
After the Game Awards, okay.
Where's your counter?
Setting it up for the great launch on the PS5 in March or April. Because that's a beautiful date to launch a game.
Absolutely.
And that's in the window of getting nominated for that year, for next year.
Okay.
And a PS5 Pro version.
Do you think that it would get that Indiana Jones could get nominated?
Yeah.
Do you think Indiana Jones could get nominated because I guess a lot more reviewers, it would be more fresh in their mind in April, but an amazing game could come out in December, which it never does, and it could be nominated for Game of the Year. I don't give a flying fudge what game is nominated for Game of the Year. I've looked through the list of the past 15 years, and only one game has been a game I actually loved to death. That was Game of the Year. And I think it was It Takes Two. Most of those other games are not my favorite game that year. Absolutely not. Red Dead 2 was absolutely my favorite game. I would say I liked Spider-Man more than God of War that year. I liked Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but that doesn't matter. My point is I want to go 100 miles an hour because we should have got this earlier, but I have to remind Xbox fans that them saying Indiana Jones is coming to PlayStation 5, I 100% believe those words are more important to marketing and a bigger announcement for that game than Xbox and PC get this December 8th. I think coming to PS5 is a much bigger marketing phrase than the one previous. And that's my take on it. That's why. Why'd they do it? They did them dirty like this. Why'd they do it? Oh, the way Jeff did it. It had nothing to do with Jeff. This is Machine Games Bethesda's call to say, and it's coming to PS5 early next year. I think that statement, Mag, is more important than the announced release date for Xbox and PC. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. It's because it has more of an impact. And the thing is, it's for two reasons. One, because it has more of an impact because of the larger install base. The other reason is, you're getting buzz off the fact that the Xbox games are going to PlayStation 5. And then, of course, at the same time, what you're doing is you're putting that final nail in the coffin for all the people who literally didn't believe a word we said about all the stuff we talked about in January, and then got absolutely crapped on for the entire year about it. And now you slowly see, and it's so funny to watch. And I watch other Xbox podcasts, not my friends, by the way, other people that I know. I see other people doing it, and they're all slowly coming to realize that everything we say, and of course, we'll never get an apology. Never get an apology for all the horrible things people said about us, unfollowed us, called us names. You want to talk about holding the line?
When we said more games to come to PlayStation. Line.
I never apologized once. I never walked back my statements. I never did, because I already knew the truth. I already knew exactly what's going to happen. By the way, I'm going to announce something tonight. And then I've got, shout out to Special Niche. Shout out to Special Nick.
Yeah,
shout out to Risk It for the Biscuit. Shout out to me for not walking back our statements, not once in the entire year, because we held firm, because we knew exactly what the game plan was. We just waited for our moment. And then the rest of it, when it finally came, and I watched all you jackasses go, well, I guess it makes sense now.
I mean, we get it on Game Pass
anywhere
first
in your
stuff.
single.
No, that's not what they're saying, Mag. They're saying, well, it's that game, but it's not going to be those.
It is going to
And
be
it's
all
not
of them. It's
Starfield.
full
Well,
slate,
hold on. But we could pat ourselves on the back all we want. Yes, Mag. Shout out to Mag. I had walked back a few statements in February when the business announcement came up. I walked back some statements, and then oh boy did. Well, I walked back some stuff back in February. I'm like, okay, they're not putting Starfield Indiana Jones, and then not long after that, which we've been doing the whole year, is like, right. No, they are going to. I got community noted on Twitter because I said they're not Indiana Jones and Starfield. That like screenshot from the business update. Yeah. I said that's the biggest fingers crossed behind my back moment ever in gaming.
Well, because he was specifically talking about the 4 games that they were talking about. And he said, oh, those 4 games are not Starfield or Indiana Jones. And then people came to me going, you see, Mag, you fraud, you effing this and that, whatever. Debunked, loser.
If you think Starfield's not coming to PlayStation 5, if you think Starfield is not coming to PlayStation 5 after the second DLC, you'll be sorely mistaken. That one's going to take a while to come. But Forza Horizon 5, I don't want to steal any thunder from any announcements you have to make, so I'm going to stop talking about games.
I'm going to do it right now.
Okay, hold on, hold that thought because I'm going to give it to you in just a second. Phil said, I'm just going to embellish it. It's not Starfield and Indiana Jones right now. You know that's damn well what he said because he knew that Indiana Jones was on the menu for PlayStation 5 when he was asked that question.
Obviously, and it takes time to develop it.
Those corporate executives, they specifically, with the marketing and communications team, specifically asked Phil, are these 4 games, Indiana Jones and Starfield? He knew that they were only Pentiment, Grounded, Sea of Thieves, and Hi-Fi Rush. And he knew, I'll bet you anything, 1 year before it comes to PS5, Phil knew that Indiana Jones was on the menu.
Obviously,
and I'm not going to say that it was confirmed, but he knew it was on the menu. He knew they were breathing down the back of his neck. He knew Machine Games wanted it on PS5 because what we don't understand is sometimes being Xbox or diehard gaming fans, we don't understand that Insomniac, there are probably developers that would love to see that game on everything and their Spider-Man game or their Ratchet and Clank games to become bigger than ever by being on everything, but not all people believe that.
Sure.
Phil knew that this was something he would have to address or it was something that was going to happen. Mag, I'm sorry.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So if people ask if I'm mad about the game come to PS5, absolutely not. I am not.
Not for me.
I'm not bothered at all. I am only mad that he sat there and said, no, it's not Indiana Jones and Starfield, knowing full well that he would have to cross that bridge when he came to it.
Yeah, and then they allowed those articles to come out that says rumors from fake Xbox insiders debunked and all this other stuff that came out. And they sat there and they let us take the heat for months, knowing damn well that we were 100% correct. Anyways, as a result of that, there's only one thing I will never actually divulge, and it's the one game that is going to be it's an existing IP on Xbox that's going to be coming out day and date on PS5, PS5 Pro, Series consoles, and the Switch, whatever you want to call it. Switch 2, I'm not going to divulge that game. They're going to announce that somewhere between the Game Awards and somewhere between next summer. So that's not fair to the team. As for the executives, I couldn't care less about them. Interesting thing now, the stuff, the people that I've spoken to, interestingly, they're, as it stands right now, since last December, they're batting 100 for 100. Everything they said has happened, including a 60 to 90 day exclusivity window for Indiana Jones.
Right.
That was said too. And he said the same thing. He said 60 to 90 days. He might be a little off because obviously it's going to be closer to, like, let's say 90 to 120 days, or maybe even a little bit further. But he's pretty damn close.
Good enough.
Pretty damn close for telling me in December of 2023. Unbelievable. Anyways, interesting little side note for any fans out there. Gave me some context on the Tango sale before I get into this other stuff. And he was talking about how the buyers did not want to buy Ghostwire or Evil Within, even though they were the IP were offered in the sale, but they were
the PUBG developers you're talking about that are buying.
They were those 2 IPs were declined by Crafton, so
they didn't want to buy which ones?
Ghostwire or Evil Within, and it might be down with price, or maybe they just didn't want to do anything with the property. So interesting little side note. Anyways, as for other ones, what he was telling me, there's the same guy who told us the same stuff 8 months ago, 9 months ago. He's saying that he's now learning that the Starfield port right now internally is being targeted for June 2025 for Starfield. He's also saying...
hold on. I'm hearing that Starfield is planned for a PS5 port when they release the next DLC, which would probably... I would put... if Mag's hearing June 2025, I would put my prediction at September 2025 for Starfield.
Sure. It's just targeted. Targeted doesn't mean solid.
Shout out to 700 people watching. Hit the like button if you're enjoying the show. Hit the like button if you think Fonz is super handsome, because he is. How you doing down there, Fonz?
He's doing good.
I'm good. I'm listening. I'm paying attention here.
Forza Horizon 5 is coming sooner than expected. It's going to be before Starfield. That's what they're targeting as well.
Forza Horizon 5?
Forza Horizon 5 is targeted coming before. I love that. Before Starfield. And the other one, which is an interesting one, which I thought was going to come out way sooner, but apparently they faced a slight internal delay with Halo Master Chief Collection. So they've removed a targeted date for Halo Master Chief Collection, but it's still coming.
When this Indiana Jones rumors popped up about a month ago,
sure,
I was talking to a fake insider that was trying to figure out if it's Forza or Halo Master Chief or Indiana Jones, and we weren't quite sure for a little while until some more kind of leaks came through. But I do know. Or I do feel very confident that Halo Master Chief Collection is being worked on for PlayStation 5, which would be
they faced a delay.
Huge.
They faced a delay. Now the other thing is you look at other things like these, what used to be a conspiracy theory, no longer a conspiracy theory in my mind. When you look at Gears E-Day, why go back to day one? Because if you think about it, I'm like, I haven't heard anything.
I mean, it's
about
the smart thing to do for the franchise, but go ahead.
You want to start at part 6 on a competing console. Right? Because what if other people have never played it before and they're like, what the hell's happening? Who the hell is this chick? Or what's going on?
How many times have I told you never call broads chicks?
Yeah, no kidding, right? Dingy broad. Get over here, you dingy broad. Anyways.
And take that ridiculous thing off.
Yeah, exactly. Why not start at E-Day? Why not start at the beginning and then go into the Marcus Phoenix collection and then go into everything else or whatever else after the fact, like years down the road? And like that's the other thing. Everybody's thinking this stuff's just gonna like show up like 3 months after we're talking about it, like they're gonna back up a dump truck. This is gonna take years. Okay,
these studios are already overworked, and the PS5 port is like a big lift. Fonz, you were gonna say something. Hopefully, you remember what you were gonna add to that.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah.
I'm really old, so I forget. No, but the one thing I was going to say though is that I think gamers at this point, especially if you're an Xbox gamer, okay, and that is where you game, it shouldn't really matter to you if these games go elsewhere. Exactly. Okay, and you should at this point, if you feel bad about this, just stop and just not even think about it and just expect everything to be going elsewhere. Just expect it, and you'll just feel better about it, because there's really nothing you can do.
There's no fight.
Me, Colt, nobody can say anything to really get them to do a 180 on this. It's not going to happen.
I could tell you that internally, Xbox,
it's a business.
Internally, I could tell you, Xbox is fighting with Microsoft on this change. They're not going to win that fight. I asked Jeff Grubb on his stream, I think it was Thursday. I sent him a super chat and I asked, do you think people are overreacting about Indiana Jones coming to PlayStation? And he said, the sooner diehard fans accept this and get over it and forget about it, the quicker they'll be able to just enjoy the games. Like, they're going to get the games. You're still
going to play the games on Game Pass. Like, it literally affects you in no which way or form except for your personal feelings.
Did you hear what Phil said?
What's the matter with you?
Phil talked about this. It got audio on it.
Yeah.
You want to hear it?
Oh, yeah, you have it?
All you want, but your games are still going.
Okay. Start over.
Oh, it messed up.
To PlayStation.
Hold on.
That's okay.
Keep crying all you want, but your games are still going to PlayStation.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Was that AI?
That's Phil.
I love that.
That's Phil AI.
That's the real, not Phil Spencer. Yeah. I was in party chat when Fonz was conjuring up tons of AI statements from Phil Spencer, and oh my gosh, we were laughing our heads off. You even did some Jim Ryan stuff. And I said, play that on your show. And you're like, I don't want to get sued. But you did.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You gave Jeff Grubb a super chat even though he cut his hair. I can't do it. I can't send him a super chat after that. As soon as he cut his hair, it's over.
Well, he was wearing a wig, so I gave him a super chat. But yeah, his point was that
Jeff, I can't do it.
You have to get over it. And people always come at me in comment sections or on Twitter replies, Mag, because they're like, "Oh, you're crying about Indiana Jones." Like, do you even listen to me? Like, Mag and I have been talking about this on XNC for 9 months. Like, there was no crying, and I told people straight up. I would get on the phone with somebody like Fonz or Gaz, and I go, "What the f is going on? What's beep, beep, beep?" And then we'd get off the phone and go, "Okay, crisis averted."
You know what the thing is? It's like Indy Jones is going to come to PlayStation, whatever, and Doom and all these other games and Starfield and blah,
they want
blah,
Xbox games.
When it does, you know what's going to happen? On December 9th, I'm just going to turn on the Xbox and just play Indiana Jones there. And it literally doesn't affect my life any which way of the fact that I'm going to consume it on Game Pass because it's sitting right behind me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand what the anger. I mean, some people act like these are like their friends or it's all they've got in life. Like, God damn it! Like, you got to figure something out, man. Because if this is all you got, there's something missing there. You got to get your stuff together. This is just a business, and you are a consumer. You are not their friends. They're not their family.
The special treatment needs to go away.
You're just a consumer. And you have to decide how you want to spend your money, your hard-earned money. You decide that. I have never seen anybody defend. Like, for example, if you liked Hyundais, okay, I'm just picking up a brand, okay, and they completely went to crap, are you going to go online and defend Hyundais until your dying breath with your friends online and fighting and canceling people and unfollowing people because they don't like because they don't like Hyundais?
Well,
are you out of your mind?
Mag,
What's wrong with you?
That does happen with certain car brands and sports teams. Absolutely.
Dude, people don't unfriend each other and stuff because one guy likes a Mustang and the other guy doesn't. This is the only one where people are completely lost their brains over. Well, maybe that and Android, but even like Android and iPhone.
It's all nonsense. Hey, Gaming Addict from the Iron Lords podcast in the chat, and he says, "Hey, Colt, so that means the rumors at the start of all this being in January of 2024, he says it means all this happened means all of them was right." And I remember being in a late night super chat with Gaming Addict, and I'm trying to remember if it was Fonz with me. It might have been.
No, it wasn't me. No.
But
I watched one of the shows where Addict was actually talking about us, and that was way back when, and saying that we were getting roasted out there. Not in a negative way. It's like, man, those guys are. I'm saying we all heard the same information as Mag. And
we would get, this
and,
again.
And
why are you guys dooming and glooming and saying Xbox games are going to PlayStation?
We were just trying to tell you what was happening, and we got crucified for it.
Yeah, I will tell you guys. Let me pull up a graphic here so that I can support what I'm saying here. I will tell you that many or most of the games are going to go to PlayStation in a very urgent eventually. Okay. Gaming Addict also says, "I wish I could jump in on the show. If I had a layout ready, I would. I'd like to have you on again, Gaming Addict. It's been a long time." So if I look at the roadmap of games here, I'm just going to, you've got games like, let me do this really quick. And I know it's getting late for Mag. I might keep Fonz on here for a little bit because we've got other stuff to talk about. South of Midnight, probably stay exclusive. Clockwork Revolution might stay exclusive. Gears E-Day might stay exclusive. Avowed might not.
I doubt it.
Avowed might go to PlayStation. Outer Worlds 2 will launch on PlayStation day and date. Fable, that's another thing we need to talk about that's on the list. That might go to PlayStation, even though I think Xbox knows it shouldn't. State of Decay 3 will stay exclusive. Flight Simulator is going to go to PlayStation. Indiana Jones, PlayStation. Perfect Dark might stay on Xbox. Doom Dark Ages, Call of Duty. Blade, Elder Scrolls 6, OD from Kojima, and Fallout 5. I'm not looking.
They're all day one.
They're all going to PlayStation.
They're all day one. They're all day one. Yep.
Okay.
E-Day is going to be day one too. I'm telling you right now.
You think so?
Personal feeling. I originally said no. But then when I started hearing the thoughts of like, why would they go back and start from the very beginning again? I'm like, holy crap, I never thought of that. Introducing it to an entirely new audience. And they're going to make so much money. It is going to be disgraceful. Like, you know that scene in Scarface where they take it to the limit?
Yeah.
Yeah, of
Take it
course.
to the limit. And then they're like
Course,
laughing.
yes. Oh, yeah.
Little spaceship Sati in the delicates, get it!
And Satya's got like Coke across his
and they're
lip.
counting the
my
money.
Take it to the
showing
limit.
I
It's
can't
showing
believe you
the
just
money.
said that.
Oh, I love it.
It's showing.
Oh, man.
Gaz did a face swap of you as Scarface with like the Coke on your lip.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's still in my phone. I still have it in my
face
phone.
down in it, bro.
Bro, if
That's
you're
what's gonna happen.
Oh,
if you're a
man.
Patreon of mine,
Day
I'll
one.
send you the Fonz snorting Coke. It'll be great. You can use it as
Oh, my God. I
That's-
can't believe
Elon,
you
what's
just
up?
said that.
Take it to the limit.
take it to Fonz's limit.
So
Nope.
you know, and then you
Never
see the
have I
money
done
machine.
Coke. Never.
You can see the $100 bills just flying, and Phil on the phone laughing in slow motion while Satya's like in Colombia going, take it to the limit.
Take it to the PlayStation. Yeah.
Yeah. And
No.
100%, that's what's going to happen. They're going to make so much money with Gears of War on PlayStation. It's going to be beyond belief. And you know what? They don't care.
Meg, why don't
your
movies have songs?
feelings.
Why don't movies have songs like that in them anymore? Like
I know,
montages
I know.
of just
Remember
absolute
even
butt
that-
rock.
Never mind like Cobra Kai. You want to go back to the original Karate Kid. You're the best.
Around.
Yeah.
Everybody wanna break it down. Yeah. Like I love those like inspirational.
And then it's got the
emotional songs. Yeah.
solo in it. Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
We need a montage.
Rocky Four's
We need a
montage. The two
montage.
montages are probably they have shaped my life. They're amazing.
Will on code. Let's say more dumb things. We need a montage. Will on code. Will on code in the chat.
Will
Sorry.
go. Where am I?
He's
Oh,
talking
we
smack about
got Noob Sabot JP45 with the $5
Ooh.
super says the Indiana Jones dev said that the Chronicles of Riddick is the OG Xbox inspiration for this game. I've heard that's amazing. I never played it. Chronicles of
can you say
Riddick
that
is their inspiration for Indiana Jones game.
Yes. Now, Chronicles of Riddick. Which one are you talking about? Escape from Butcher Bay?
I think so. Yeah, he didn't say.
That was an OG. That wasn't that an OG Xbox.
That's what he
PS2
says, yeah.
game. If I'm not.
Yeah,
mistaken.
so that's
okay,
their-
Yeah. Sorry. I missed the first part of the super
Didn't
chat.
Machine Games work on Chronicles of Riddick, or was that
I don't know. It's
I
so
don't know.
long ago.
Grandpa's Barbecue
Yeah,
Gamecast
like-
says Mag for president, out with Perot. Mag for president, out with Perot. All right.
Prime Minister.
Yeah, I love it. I thought it was Ross Perot for Fonz and I.
No. He's
Ross
gone.
Perot with the big ears and yeah.
Steven Mewtwo says the Xbox flagship titles going to PlayStation may be good for more players to play, but it only devalues the console. But as an Xbox gamer, it's only for the best. He's right. And when he says devalue the console, it doesn't mean his or mine. It devalues the opportunity for them to sell more consoles. I agree with that absolutely.
Exactly.
Also, it devalues the push to get people to Game Pass. My joke is take all of the games away from PlayStation, even Call of Duty coming out next month or whatever. My joke is take them all away and say, oh, well, you know how we change our mind for the Xbox fans? We're going to change our mind for everyone else. Everything is exclusive to Xbox Series S and X, and then watch those consoles fly off the shelves all over the world.
I did an interview last week with MM2K. Shout out to MM2K. It was a great interview we had. About 2 hours, him and I talked. And he said to me, he says, what sold you to the Xbox brand all those years ago? And I said, it's funny you asked that because I was watching TV and I was taking a break after the PS2 and there was nothing really going on for me for a couple of months with gaming. I just kind of it just kind of went by the wayside. And I saw a commercial for Dead Rising. The original Dead Rising. And I went, wow, look at the graphics of this game. Incredible. Oh, Capcom, the guys who make Resident Evil and Dino Crisis? I'm in. So I'm looking at this game or whatever, and then it flashes only on Xbox 360.
Yeah.
Not even 48 hours later, I went to the store and bought an Xbox 360, and the first game I bought with it was Dead Rising because of that commercial. And you can't tell me that exclusives don't sell. Because it sold me on an entire brand. Because I didn't play the original Xbox, not at all. I was still PlayStation. I mean, I went from Pony to Xbot to Ponybot, now back to full Pony. It's awful. I'm all over the place. Anyways, in all seriousness, is that sold me the console, and I went and bought the 360 and Dead Rising 2 days later, and I already had it in my car and took it home. And Don't tell me exclusives don't sell. If you got compelling software that you can only access one place, people will go out and buy it. But we're no longer there.
Yeah, Xbox hasn't had that in a decade. And shout out to
that's done with.
Shout out to Paris in the chat that says Starbreeze were the devs that made Chronicles of Riddick, and they became Machine Games. Yeah, I thought I'd heard something about their tie to the Chronicles games, and that was it.
Right.
Thanks to Paris, because Paris has been around long enough to know when video games were first invented. He's almost as old as me, actually. But shout out to Paris in the chat.
That means I'm older than all of you guys. I'm 49, turning 50 this year.
Yeah, we're about a year off. People are like, I wonder how old these guys are. It's like, look at my old catcher's mitt face. How old do you think I am?
I'm still 49, so I'm still in my 40s. So let's calm down.
But don't you feel like you're 32?
You're the same age, 49 as well.
Yeah. Hey, Fonz. There you go, buddy.
The problem is that I feel like or I act like I'm in my 30s, and then it's
I'd say you act like you're freaking. I'd say you act like a 12-year-old at times.
Read my post.
Come on.
What did you say?
You act like a 12-year-old at times. You know,
yeah,
you act young, like very young at times. Yeah. It's not a bad thing.
Leo Davis is saying I'm not a pony. I'm a full horse now. So yes,
some scenarios.
I've gone thoroughbred. All that. That's it. Anyways.
We have a bit more to talk about here. I want to talk about Avowed. I want to talk about Fable. I want to talk about the rest of the Gamescom stuff in Concord. And Push Square, a big PlayStation site, said something really, really silly. Meg, do you want me to let you go, or do you want to keep going? I always want you to feel like.
I got to make a couple of calls before I get back into work tomorrow. But
he's got to take it to the limit.
Take it to the limit.
He's gonna be like,
your PS5 day one. Take it to the limit. Anyways, I'm gonna make a whole video about that. I'm 100% doing that.
Dude, you really should. You should do Take It to the Limit.
Same music. I don't even care. I don't care if Brian De Palma sues me for using his song. I'm doing it. So I'm 100% doing it because it's got to be done. But anyways, whatever. I can give you my summary right now. I think Fable's going to be good. Concord sucks. And what else you want to talk about? Avowed 30 FPS. I wasn't going to play it anyway. All right, everybody, have yourself a great night.
Oh.
No, I really do have to go.
Yeah, Meg, I really appreciate you, bro. Yeah. It's good being back with you, and taking a week off really made me miss your little scrawny rear end. Tell everybody that you love them, and we'll dip out. And
of course I love them.
And I'll take over.
Absolutely love the chat as always, and Fonz, you're awesome. Love you, brother. And Colt, always a pleasure to be here. And I will see you next week, of course. And chat, keep it real, keep it funny, keep it hilarious. And remember, if you see any ninja gardens, be very careful. Just let them plant their flowers very quietly, okay? And everybody, we'll see y'all next week. And take it to the limit.
Take it to the limit.
All right,
Lord Addict, if you're here, let me see. I'm going to send you a link. You can jump in with Fonz and I when you get a chance. Let me get back to
Addict.
Let me get back to my other podcast duo. Oh man! I gotta wait for him to jump out, which he will. When he jumps out, that will fix itself. You're just gonna be forced to look at a messed up overlay for a second. Fonz, where were we? We were taking it to the limit.
Taking it to the limit.
Shout over 600 people are here watching.
Guys.
There you go. I think he's bounced. Let me make sure.
Look at that.
Good. Let me make sure it's good. It's not
Look
good.
At that.
Oh my gosh, you're all pixelated. Addict. Oh my gosh. Oh, Mag needs to disconnect. Okay, it's all messed up. Wait, why is your internet at like 140p?
Ooh.
Can I? I don't want to kick him because I don't want him to not be able to. I don't know how that works.
Who's at 140p?
Your screen for some reason.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, hold on. Let me I'll leave it right here until Mag jumps out. It'll just probably be messed up for a second. Where was I? Okay.
140p. You're watching.
Everyone's like, what happened?
Vision.
I'm over here. I'm over there. Wait, I should be over here so you can see me. Kick the pony, they said. Can I remove him from the room? Fonzie?
I think you can kick, but I don't know what I don't want to do.
I don't want to kick him per se. Hold on.
You can just kick him from the
okay, there
show.
you left. Okay, Attic, do you have a camera? You don't have to have one.
No,
Okay.
I don't have a camera.
Okay, but you're on, and let me make sure that everything should look back to normal, live.
I cannot believe. Did you really
Meg-
ask me? Did I have a camera?
Well,
Of course,
it
he
was
has a
or the
camera.
black screen. Didn't know. All right, why is this not? Oh, I know what to do. Okay, this is why. Like, let me in. I'm like, well, let me
Hey,
use my
while
brain.
he's doing this,
There we go.
Addict, I just want to say something to you. Thank you for on your show yesterday, telling people how it is with WuKong on PlayStation 5 in performance mode, because I got people telling me there's no issues.
And I would call those people liars.
There
Okay,
you go.
Lord Attic, you
got
are the founder of the Iron Lords podcast. You guys had a killer show. You were dipping in and out because you were under the weather this past weekend, but you're feeling better now, I assume.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better.
You were watching the show. We're going to dive right into the next major topic, and it is, let's see what, I'm going to put this timestamp in here, bros. We are at Avowed. Okay, Avowed looks great. I am one of the few that's really excited about Avowed. I think Avowed might score a medium to good score, but I don't care. It's like my type of game.
Exactly.
I think it looks really fun, and I think it looks
does.
full-bodied. I like the combat. Destin Legary said the combat felt impactful and improved. Matty Play said it didn't, but I watched what Destin was playing, and I kind of side with Destin. If Destin likes the way it feels, and I like the way it looks, I'm kind of thinking I'm going to like the way the combat is. I don't know where to start with this, but everyone only cares about Avowed is at 30 frames. Attic, you just got here. I'll give you the floor. Tell us what you think of what's going on with Avowed and the delay and every give us everything. Take it to the limit.
I think when it comes down to it, it's like, look, even if we don't want this game to be 30 frames, it's going to be 30 frames. There ain't nothing you can do about it. Cod's a little bit more like optimistic about it. He thinks there's enough time, but like I was editing that video, the one that we put out, and when I was editing it, I noticed when he was talking about it, he kind of like he said that, then he started acting like 30 frames was their goal from the start. He's like, that was our goal. We wanted it stable. And the way he kind of worded it to me made it feel like their number one goal was, let's get a good game and just make sure it's functioning on console standards, and then we'll worry about everything later. I hope maybe after, since the interview went viral, which is crazy. We've never went viral that degree.
You guys deserve it, bro.
So since that went viral, hopefully it will show Obsidian and Microsoft and Xbox like we want that 60 frames, and maybe they'll put a little bit more people to optimizing the game. Because I guess like to me, it's like so many games are coming out half featured, broken, getting features 6 months after the game comes out, and by then it's irrelevant. It's just like, I understand that this is a corporate world. I understand that a lot of stuff goes into making stuff like this. But at the same time, it's like, you want my money, you want all my money, but you only want to put half the effort to making a product, but you want all of my money. And it's just like, someone's got to stand up, because eventually it's not going to improve. It's just going to keep getting worse. And I feel like it's only gotten worse. People are like, well, it's not possible. Sorry, my cat.
That's awesome.
It's all right.
I love that. Why do people apologize if their kid or their dog or cat makes a noise? It's like, we all have these things. We love them. But anyway, go ahead.
We have these things, kids.
It's because I try to be professional, and I'm not trying to ruin.
It's all good. It's all good.
So yeah,
we are a pet-friendly show.
It's like, look, at the end of the day, if this is 60 frames, if this is 30 frames, the only thing they have guaranteed is I play this on PC. And that's pretty much what they want anyway, because they say immediately all the time, play everywhere but Xbox. So I guess this is what they want anyway. So it's just like, and it's frustrating because another reason I feel like it's not going to be 60 at launch, I do think they'll get 60. I just don't think it's going to be at launch.
Eventually, eventually.
It's because the
6 months
actual
later.
developer said, well, you don't really need this for this type of game anyway. So like the way he described that kind of felt like he was damage controlling the impact of that interview before it even went out live, where he was just like, it's 30, but the reason it's 30 is because we don't feel this is necessary for this type of game anyway.
How does he know what we want? As the gamer, how does he know what I want?
He doesn't. They're not saying that
for me, because I would play a card game at 60 plus frames. I would prefer that. I just don't care for 30 frames.
Now, I do have some caveats to 60 frames. Most genres, I want 60 frames. Almost every genre. There are a couple that I'm willing to be a little bit more lenient towards, like turn-based games like Persona, old-style Final Fantasies. I'm a little bit more okay with that because it's a turn-based game. I would prefer it at 60, but with those type of games, I know those frame rates aren't going to frustrate me to like the end-all be-all. But and maybe some board games.
New games, Addict. New games.
And maybe, but there's turn-based games being made now. So I'm just saying those style games and maybe some board games, like if I'm playing battleships or Monopoly, I'm not going to really gripe over it much. But that's literally all. I don't play races, but if I play races, that sucker better be 60. I don't play sports games, but that sucker's better be 60. Like, I want the best experience depending on what type of game I'm playing. And these days, I saw someone that says like 30 frames is okay. And I'm like, that's cool to you, but that's not okay to me. I don't want to play anything 30 frames because now since I played on PC for a couple years for Destiny, I see the difference. I feel the difference.
Yep.
Now, if I have to play something because of the Switch, okay, I got to play it at 30. That sucks, but I got to play it at 30. But if you're giving me the option to play anywhere else that's 30, I'm going to play everywhere else. And that shouldn't be the metric that PlayStation, not PlayStation, that Xbox gives its consumers. Avowed is probably going to be 30 frames at launch on Xbox, but 60 frames at launch on PlayStation. Like, imagine how crazy that is.
Well,
like,
he's 100% right. If Avowed comes to PlayStation in a year or 2 years or 6 months, because I think we all think here.
I got one worse for you.
Oh, no.
Starfield's going to be 60 frames at launch on PlayStation, but wasn't at Xbox.
Yeah.
Now, Addict, is there... I don't want to leave Fonz out of this because I know Fonz has a great opinion on this, but what's with the Xbox first party? Are they allergic to 60 frames games? Because you got Hellblade 2, Starfield, Redfall, Flight Sim, Avowed, 5 major games launched at 30 frames on the console. But PlayStation's first party doesn't have a problem. The only ones who've been 30 FPS are Gotham Knights and Dragon's Dogma 2. Everybody else has been 60 frames. But what's going on with Xbox first party studios?
Because Xbox is working on PlayStation copies at the same time.
Because these things take time, and I think that they want to get these games out. And when they tell you, when they feed you lines like, "Oh, we couldn't get this at 30," or "We don't feel that this would be working at 30 for us," or "We don't have that vision." And then 6 months later to a year, they come out with a 60 frames mode. It was all just lies.
Yeah.
It's just about time. And it's something that I got to say, Dealer Gaming used to say all the time. Used to tell us all the time when we would complain about these 30 frame games. He's all, these developers can bring us performance modes. They just need more time. That's what it's all about.
He said that for a long time. Yeah.
And he kept hitting on that all the time. And then what did we start seeing? We started seeing 60 frames come 6 months later, a year later. And we're like, he was right. It's about time.
Yeah. It's about
time
developer time. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess it seems to be an Xbox problem where they're not willing to delay games because they've had people waiting for a decade for these games that Phil promised back in 2018 that they were building. So I don't know. I just, the developer saying that you don't need 60 FPS in a first person RPG is absolute bullcrap. That's the excuse that Xbox fans use. They said that diehards say, "Oh, I only need FPS. I only need 60 FPS on a first person game. It doesn't matter if it's third person." Well, this is a first person game.
I do agree with you. He should have just not commented on it, but I don't think the devs even think that either. It's just like, what do you realistically, he shouldn't have answered the question. That's what he shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
But since he answered it, what do you expect him to do with the follow-up?
Yeah, if you were doing the interview and the developer said, we're not talking about performance modes on console right now, do you think there would have been articles written that it's probably 30 frames on Xbox?
Yes, probably the exact same scenario.
So,
but it would have been like speculation. And see, it's still speculation because he said the minimum we're aiming for is 30. But it's like, okay, so were you aiming for like 15? Is that like, because to me, the minimum definitely should be 30, but he's acting like the maximum's 30, like the way he was describing the situation.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room too. If you look at the situation, what's different between, say, PlayStation games and them making 60 and, having that option in their games?
Well, I have a horrible opinion.
They don't have a Series S to contend with. They don't have to build for two different SKUs, and one of them may not always hit that 60 FPS target. And we've seen that in many cases. It's stuck at 30, whereas the Xbox Series X.
I don't look at the Series S.
Frame. So I look at but the way I look at it is they are developing for these two SKUs, and they are trying to push for getting these games to be at a consistent 30 frames per second, well optimized game before anything else, because that's what they know the Series S can target.
I don't look at the Series S as a reason. I actually look at, people hate it when I say this, but I'll bounce it off the Lord at it because you're probably way more reasonable than I am. But I look at the games that PlayStation's put out in this generation, and so far it's been a lot of remasters, but their new games have been mostly based off of design criteria from PS4. Their big watermark games are Spider-Man 2, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, and all those games were built off of the same design criteria that ran on a 1 teraflop PS4. Now, they ramped up those games and made them look amazing. They increased the graphical level. You're allowed to move farther and faster because of SSDs. That stuff's all proven. But you're still, if Xbox took a game, instead of looking backward, let's look at right now. Avowed's not a good example, because I look at Avowed, and I told you guys everything I liked about Avowed. I do not look at Avowed and say, oh my gosh, this is a silicon melting masterpiece. Now, it's in Unreal Engine 5, which is hard to develop for, or hard to optimize. That's the right word.
It's got a certain art style to it, right? That doesn't blow your mind.
Yeah, like Hellblade was 30 frames, but Hellblade is the best looking game that's ever come out. I say Hellblade 2 is the best looking game. Sorry, Attic, I meant to give this one to you, but
in some aspects, I think WuKong takes it in others.
Yeah, Hellblade 2 is next level the way it looks, but that game will get a 60 frames mode by the end of their 6-month launch window, I believe. Sorry, Attic, I wanted to bounce that off of you. What do you think about PlayStation's games being mostly sequels from last generation? Is why they're 60.
I don't think you're wrong on that. But at the same time, I think both scenarios could be true. I think they are making a lot of, remakes, remasters, so it's easier for them to scale it down. Because it's not even just remakes and remasters. A lot of their games are cross-plat too. They're not really having to take advantage of just the PlayStation 5 specs. And Xbox, they did ditch the Xbox One a lot faster in terms of first party than PlayStation did. So a lot of their games being worked on right now, or the last couple games, have been only on the Series consoles. So I do agree with you on that one, but I do think that the Series S has gotten to a point where it's hurting them way more than it's helping them. I do think, the thing is like all these games can run fine on the Series S. They can have performance modes in the Series X if there's 6 months more development time, and none of these developers, none of these publishers, oh, you mean to tell me we got to do more work to get it to pass your certification test? Yeah, we'll just push yours down, because it'd be different if they were like the number one factor in terms of how many consoles are out there, but they're not. So like you're asking a lot from people that don't necessarily see the investment in return. It's like, you want me to put this amount of money into putting more into the Series S and X, but I don't really see if I'm going to get that back. I might, I may not. So I think both are true. Do I think that most of these games will run on the Series S? Yes. I just don't think publishers are going to give the amount of time that is required to make these games run like that. That's why I always say, Microsoft's the one that put people in this situation. Xbox are. So if there's situations like Black Myth, Baldur's Gate 3, I don't care if Microsoft has to send teams over there 24/7 and essentially build that port themselves.
Yeah.
You're the one that put this variable in here. We shouldn't be losing games because of your guys' decision. I have never owned a Series S. And this is the second game, potentially more, the only two. That's the second game that I'm missing that could be potential Game of the Year material because of a decision Xbox and Microsoft made that I didn't ask them for. I was never buying a Series S.
Addict, I said it. I was wrong in the past for what I used to say about the S, because I was like, oh no, it's okay, it's fine, it's great for the consumer, it's cheaper. But when I look back at it now, and I tell Colt this all the time, and some people may hate me for saying this, but I'm going to say it. I think it was a mistake. I think adding that extra SKU for developers out there is just a mistake. I think at the end of the day, I think people are looking to these consoles and they're looking for which one. Now, not everybody is into like the top end specs and stuff like that, but most console gamers are on PS5s. And what are PS5s bringing you? They're bringing you that 60 frames. They're bringing you those visuals, and that's what they want out of the Series X as well. But you've cut your player base in half with a console that's not up to snuff.
Let me say something real quick.
Especially with games that are coming out now. We're getting UE5 games and stuff that VRAM in the Series S is going to have a hard time contending with. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So, Pixelbit G said Black Myth sucking at their job is Xbox fault. Jesus, that's correct. That Black Myth's developers, I don't know what the developer's name. Their job is to develop
game
the game.
science.
It's Xbox's job to provide them with the assistance and the technology to make the game for their system.
Yep.
Now we can debate on whether or not they should put more time into it. It's not their responsibility to make sure Xbox has a version,
or to bend over backward to make sure that a version gets on Xbox. And I don't blame developers for feeling like it should take this amount of time, but it takes this amount of time for Xbox, and the audience on Xbox is this big compared to PlayStation, right? Oh, here, I'll do a X-Fault thing.
And that's my point. If they had the bulk of if they had the biggest installment, this wouldn't be an issue, because it's like the 360 with the PS3. The 360 was vastly easier to develop on than the PS3 was, which it hit them on a double whammy because they had a year up front on the road. What hurt Xbox during the 360 was they stopped caring midway through and started focusing on the Kinect.
Mac said about Wukong, he said the game is broken on the PlayStation. How's that Xbox fault? Oh my God. No, here's the thing.
If we were just roasting the PlayStation version.
Here's the thing. It's got a lot of problems. And that's where I go back to what I said earlier in the show is I feel that game should have been delayed across the board.
I agree.
Yeah,
and if
both can be true. Both can easily be true.
And here's the thing. Here's the other part that could be true. It could be completely broken for Xbox or the Series S. And guess what? You can't release an X version without the S. There is that parity clause where the game has to run on both day one. So
it has to be released on both. There's no clause that says they can't put the Series S version of Black Myth at 30 FPS. But I would say that Game Science doesn't want to make that game 30 FPS on Series S, or maybe it just runs it because it doesn't actually run very well even at 30 on PS5.
I don't think they could. I don't think they have a choice with that VRAM, man. I don't think they have a choice.
And Attic, can Xbox send some of their expert, their advanced team, whatever they're called? Can they send them over to China to help the developers? I don't think so.
It's not even that. I'm sure they could be I'm sure they have helped them to some degree, probably through remote or anything like that. I don't know when it comes to like China and I don't know if there's any thing preventing. I mean, there might be stuff preventing not only China from reaching out to Microsoft, but from Microsoft to reaching out to China. I don't know anything about that kind of stuff. That's why I'm saying, like, I'm not just talking about Black Myth. I'm talking about Baldur's Gate 3. I'm talking about a variety of stuff that's happened that's made it to
the arcade fighters
come out later.
Yep. And
I don't think the arcade fighters have anything to do with the Series S. I think that's the backwards compatibility thing. And
Xbox needs to do better about making sure they get as many games as possible, because they're going to make more money off of selling other people's games. Then they're going to make money. Other people's games and microtransactions probably make them more money than them selling their own games. And their lack of priority and their documentation and porting process, from everybody I've heard, is far more arduous than it should be. And it's too late. I think when we were at the Summer Games Fest and they showed Black Myth without the Xbox logo, maybe that's when Xbox heard that it was going to skip, or maybe just before. It was probably far too late to start reacting to getting that game available on Xbox at launch. And here we are, and they're saying it's indefinite. We talked about that much. And
I do think that I do think they are going to eventually get that game on the Xbox.
Yeah, I think it's going to be
eventually.
What was Baldur's Gate, Fonz? It was like a 3-month delay on Xbox.
I think it was 3.
Damn near 2024.
It's horrible. And for Phil and the team to sit there when the most popular game is launching and it's not on their console because of an incompetence in one of their situations with their porting process, has to sting. And you know what? I hope it stings so they can start making big adjustments. And Power World was on their console. Power World was big, but not because of a problem with PlayStation.
But Baldur's Gate 3, the issue there was the split screen on Series S. It couldn't be done. So they decided, okay, we can omit that portion for the parity thing. You don't need that for the Series S. And they were able to release it. It was that simple, because again, it was a Series S issue. And that's when I started to think about it. And I go, you know what? The Series S is going to struggle with these newer games coming.
Yeah. It's the console's already decaying and in their half-life right now. And I said on Gaz's podcast last week, I think that console generations need to be 4 years, not 8. And people hate that, but I'm like, the hardware tells the truth. The consoles need to be refreshed. Not just a promo. I think you just do a new generation every 4 years. We do it with our phones. We do it with our PCs. And I said, diehard PC gamers probably hold on to their rigs maybe 5 or 6 years, and then they build a new one. Maybe they might swap out a GPU, but I bet if you paneled everybody on PC who's diehard gamers, they probably build a new rig every 6 years, and that's worth it. Red Wolf has a question for Addict. Thank you for the $5 super chat. He's also been promoted this week to moderator, so he's almost as cool as Udana Kizada and Happy Bomb. Shout out to them for being very faithful, great moderators, and keeping the chat clean and making sure Magnum makes fun of me and all that good stuff. We appreciate all you guys in the chat. Hit the like button. Red Wolf says, Addict, do you think that Xbox would take the time to make and then also put out without having to push the time to make it necessary for them to release?
Are we talking about Black Myth still?
I think he's trolling you. Do you think that Xbox would take the time to make and then also put without having to push the time to make it necessary for them to release? Actually, I'm not sure if he's... I think he is trolling you. I don't know if he's talking
about Avowed. Well, it does... Look, here's the thing. Regardless if he's trolling or not, I don't know if he's trolling.
You can still answer.
No one asked for a 2-SKU console. So you can't get mad at the developers. Because not only do most of them got to make all of these platforms for PC, they got to make PlayStation 1 ports. Some of them make Switches. No one asked for a 2-SKU console. No one did. So you just adding on to more of the infrastructure in terms of how long a game takes to develop. Now, it's okay if you're willing to essentially hold the hands of everyone to make sure everything gets out. But if you're not willing to do that, your consumer base is most definitely going to miss on some games, because the industry doesn't function that way. If it comes between, and it's like, this wouldn't be an issue if Xbox was like the leading platform or even close to it. But if it came between, we're going to delay the other one that doesn't even have half the install base is the leading platform, or we're going to go through with only developing right now for PlayStation because it literally has double the install base of the people asking us to do more stuff.
True.
So it's just like when you're in that kind of situation, look, Xbox was in a bad position at the end of the Xbox One generation. On paper, it made perfect sense. On paper, it made perfect sense. But the longer the generation went by, you could tell that Xbox was doing this. I don't know if they're doing it anymore. I'm sure they are, but it doesn't seem like to the extent that it was going, because we didn't hear about games really skipping last gen. But to be fair, there wasn't a lot of games currently on just this gen.
We did, but not because of technical or restraints or optimization issues. Games skipped Xbox because it just wasn't popular enough. But you say, why'd they do a 2-skewed console when last generation we had a 2-skewed console? We had the PS4 Pro and the PS4, and those, each of those were half or double the power of the other one, and then the Xbox One X and the base Xbox. So you had a required 2-skew console for.
Yeah, but you started at the highest level, and then you just went up.
But
you upgraded.
Which is worse? You have the VCR Xbox, and then you go 5 years, and you get the Xbox One X.
What's worse is putting out a high-end console with a low-end console at the same freaking time. It makes no sense. And then putting a parity clause there saying you have to get the games to run this way, or at least come out day and date, on both.
Let me ask you guys this, and I'm not trying to defend this, but power versus Series X. Fonz, what would be the power differential between the base Xbox VCR and the Xbox One X in 2017? How much power difference is going on there?
It was big. We saw a big leap. We saw a bigger leap there, I think, than we did coming from the One X to the freaking PS5 and Series X. You're talking in terms of the way the games looked and everything.
You're talking compute power would be, which teraflops only don't really tell you the story.
I'm not that technical.
You're talking one teraflop versus 6 teraflops. So essentially 4 times more powerful was the Xbox One X Scorpio than the base Xbox One. And in 2017 through 2020, you asked developers to create an Xbox One X version and an Xbox VCR version, which was 4 times less powerful than the One X. And on the PS4 Pro, you were asking people to build a game on a 2 times or 3 times less powerful console for 2 to 3 years of the generation.
That's why we got essentially the same games with 60 frames and better resolution.
I don't think it's the same thing, because it's essentially asking to build up on a platform. It's like, look, here's your foundation. I just want you to build on the foundation.
Yeah,
the other one's wanting you to pretty much make the foundation stronger.
I think the difference
is too heavy. We need to enforce the foundation.
No.
The difference is the Series S is way less powerful than the PS5. And that's where the problem is. Developers develop for the PS5 first, and then they go over and develop for the PS or the Series S.
They're trying to develop down. They're developing down for that. And
but
that is the issue. And it's not just that. It's not just that, though. It's also the fact that technology is just moving, and we've got things like Unreal Engine 5 that are very demanding, and you need more VRAM. A lot of people have upgraded their PCs and everything because the VRAM wasn't good enough in their GPUs, and it's just trickling down to us, or to console players now. They've got to, upgrade. And this is where it comes in with what you're saying. They've got to upgrade more often, or else this is a thing. Like, developers will always develop for graphics and fidelity first. That's always been the biggest push in consoles. Always. So if you want 60 frames or higher, the rest of this generation, I think it's going to go backwards with the frame rate. I think we're going to see more 30 frames games only.
Are we going to see some 30 frames games on the PS5 from their first party, Attic? Because they haven't done next gen yet, in my opinion.
I'm sure there'll be some. I'm sure there'll be some. But here's the thing too: is like the PlayStation 5. They don't essentially have to develop around, a lesser CPU bound than they do with the Series S and X. So I would say it's a lot easier for them to make their first party 60 frames than it would necessarily be for the Xbox Series S and X.
Yeah. I mean, I know they do develop for the Series S first, and then they do their little bit of bump up in resolution and performance on the Series X, which I wish that they would they're supposed to scale down. And we were told that for a while that they would build for the X and then they would scale down performance or optimization for the Series S. But developers, they got to do the bare minimum first because they're worried about the PS5 first and the PC version. And then the next thing they do, which should be third, is the Series S and then the X. Magnum asked me to put up a poll in the chat. Should the Xbox Series S exist? You don't own an Xbox Series S, Addict, but I can tell you those games look really great on that little $300 console. My kids have, I have 3 of them in my house. My kids play on them. And my kid played all of Hogwarts Legacy at a sub 60 frames. It ran at 60 and like right in that pocket.
Cross-gen game.
Is it cross-gen? No, I mean, not really, Fonz. They waited 6 months or 3 months to make the PS4 Xbox.
It doesn't matter. It's cross-gen.
Yeah.
They've made versions on the other old systems. So.
Yeah, but people don't understand. I know people bag on the Series S, and I'm okay with them bagging on the Series S for those reasons. But when you have one plugged into a decent TV, you'll realize how much of a little miracle that thing is. Its problem is that 10 gigabyte RAM pool is not enough for modern gaming, and Xbox really effed up with that because it's a problem. And Xbox did it. So yeah, I know. Let me see. We got E-Man 2537. Thank you for the $5 super said. Isn't PlayStation going to have 2 SKU console with the PS5 Pro? Yes, they're going to have a base PS5, and then they're going to have a PS5 Pro. That is going to come out this year.
The difference is they are the market lead. They can do really anything they want, and there's really nothing what is Ubisoft going to do? Yeah, we ain't developing for the when we're going to make the most money on. Like they have them in a checkmate. There's nothing they can do. That's why I said this would not be an issue if the gap was a lot less.
Yeah.
If there was only a couple million difference, or if Xbox was ahead of PlayStation, because when you're the market lead, not only do you get clearly, an ego, and you feel like you don't owe your fans nothing, which is PlayStation done for like a decade at this point.
Yeah.
You also get the point where you can tell the industry, this is what you think's going to happen. This was actually going to happen.
Well, they're going to build for the PS5 base version first anyway,
yes.
And then they're just going to port up. They're just going to up, the res and the freaking frame rates.
I will tell you
what they're going to do. Add more ray tracing effects, things like that. That's what you're going to get on the Pro. It's not.
You're not going to be at 1080p in performance mode on the PS5 Pro. You're going to be at a higher resolution. You're going to be at 1440p or dynamic 4K at 60 frames. You're going to get higher quality ray tracing on the Pro. You're not going to get a bunch of games doubled to 60 FPS all of a sudden or 120, anything like that. There will be some exceptions. But you guys are right. Developers, because there are 60 million PS5s, the baseline for performance is what's inside the PS5 and what is in the median area of PC gaming, which would be, like a 4070 Super or a 4060. Like, that's the sweet spot. Develop right in there, and then people can crank up from there. But the Series S being, 28 million consoles with the Series S and X, developers look at that and go, do we have to? Yeah, we have to. That's going to take a while. Oh, that sucks. And I don't blame them for feeling that way. BT Maverick with a 5. Thank you so much for the super says, having games on other consoles won't hurt us, but the lack of competition when Sony gets free reign again, when will they start dictating the price? The Addict just said it. Like, they are in the lead. They can do whatever they want. I would like to add to that, Addict. If PlayStation wanted to instead, let's pretend like they're like, no, the Pro is a rumor. We're actually going to do our own Series S. We're going to do the PS5 Mini, and it's going to be half the power. It's going to be on par with the Series S. They could do that, and developers would absolutely go ahead and port for that because they would have the install base to make it happen.
I actually feel like that would be a mistake on their part.
Well, of course.
Then it would be easy. It would be easy for Microsoft to be like, yo, we know you're making literally the exact same port for theirs. So you can literally just give it to me for ours.
Well, that would actually help the Series S if
that's
what
I meant. It would hurt them.
Yeah. So it's just a joke, but that is really what it's all about. The next thing, Clobril, who great person to follow if you want Xbox news and what's going on. Clobril found out that Fable, The game that we've seen lots of little tiny bits of gameplay, but I don't know why this game's coming out in 1 year and we haven't seen a string of gameplay yet. What the hell are they hiding? I don't know what's going on. But Cloverell found out that Third Kind Studio is helping with development of Fable, which I think it makes the third studio that is partnering with them. I think, I'm trying to remember, Lord Addict, who is also helping with Fable, but Third Kind Studio recently, last year, helped Rare port Sea of Thieves to the PlayStation. That's what they did. Third Kind Studio, their work with Xbox was to get Sea of Thieves on PlayStation. And I called that out and said, hey, they helped with the port on the PS5. And people were like, why are you doom and glooming? I'm like, I don't know. Everything I've heard is that Fable is one of those franchises that will never go to Xbox. So I am in the middle on this one. I thought I would give it to you guys, the panel. Is this Third Kind Studio any news to be thinking about at all?
You going to go first for me?
Go ahead, Addict.
I think this is one of the ones I will push back on. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're making that, because if you look at it like a strategic point on going into it, it's like, this might be one of those scenarios where they're like, Fable, we want it. We have a huge target for next year. You've helped Rare. You have proven to yourself that you can do good product. You have good, responsible, talented people. We would really like if you would help get some form of task done to get Fable over the finish line before it comes out. Or it could be, go over there, put some what did they say? Put some bags over the windows. Like, here's some PlayStation 5 dev kits, and go port it. But I don't think we're there yet. I think this is just one of those things where I think it's one of those things where they're like, we want this game out and you've proven yourself, so we trust you to help them with theirs.
Okay. Now, I don't think it's a smoking gun per se, with this Third Kind Studio being helping them anyway. But I will say this: to automatically think or to put it in your head that it will never go to PlayStation is absolutely the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, it probably is.
Just, I mean, don't worry about it is my advice. But because honestly, I think if I had a big new IP like Fable, or I know it's existing, but it's kind of a reboot type of thing. If it was really freaking good, and you see what they're doing with other games, trying to maximize their profits, sending them over to PlayStation, I would do the same thing if I were Microsoft. I was looking at just making money. What I would do.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good attitude to actually be prepared for what's supposed to happen. Jez Corden's talked a lot about if Xbox should take a full multi-platform approach, or what he thinks should remain Xbox exclusive. And I think it might have been Tom Henderson had the funniest reply. He said, so we'd be back to Halo, Gears, and Forza are the only exclusives, which was kind of...
Well, I think you have the biggest hurdle that Xbox faces is not necessarily it's not North America, it's the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And their feelings toward the Xbox brand. And even if you had some great games coming out on the platform, it's going to be hard to get the rest of the world on board to buying an Xbox. I mean, that's a tall task. And I think it's one that you can't do at this point. I think PlayStation has solidified itself, and Nintendo, in those other regions that Microsoft can't penetrate. And I don't think there's anything they could do in those regions. Don't. That's the way I look at it. So okay. I think they know that too.
I think there's stuff they can do, but the problem is at this point, because we've seen it. We've seen companies come. I mean, the Wii U, the PlayStation 3 was doing so bad when that sucker launched. It's a miracle they were turning around. You know how they turn around? With games. But the problem is, by the time the games come up, guess what happens at the other end of the spectrum? Bad PR. You're doing this wrong. You're doing that wrong. Yep. And by the time the games actually show up in huge numbers, because for years we've had Xbox drop a couple good games and then like 4 mid games that no one even talks about anymore.
Yeah, and then
a couple good games and then 4 mid games that no one even talks about anymore. But then you get to this point where they have the pulse on what their studios are doing. It's looking like, Avowed's going to turn out good. Even though I wasn't, the biggest fan of Hellblade, I still think it was a good time. So it was definitely worth me playing. I don't know about like playing again.
Yeah.
This podcast probably longer than that game, but but it was still a fun time.
Don't talk about this podcast being long. You're on the longest running podcast there is, man.
Yeah.
No, I mean my podcast is probably 2 of it, but it's still a fun game. So I would say, then you got Indiana Jones, The Outer Worlds 2, literally.
But the thing is what I'm saying is you might be able to sell a few more Xboxes in those regions, but you're never going to penetrate on the level of what PlayStation and Nintendo have done in Europe, Asia, Asian countries that they dominate.
But there's a reason they dominated, because they've showed consistency through generations.
Yes.
They've showed consistency with keeping up with their brand. They've showed consistency with when things get bad, they actually pull through. The Wii U is literally one of the lowest selling consoles ever made. And they learned from their mistakes. And they didn't even really, essentially, the Switch is a generation above ours. Because they washed their hands. They're like, that never happened. Like,
you know what's it's crazy about that is that the Wii U was like this portable handheld hybrid thing that completely failed, and you'd think they would have gone back to traditional console to save face, but they did another like niche, or not niche, they did another like gimmicky console and just knocked it out of the park, and it's still outselling PlayStation right now. So you got to give Nintendo props. They just pushed and they pushed, and they were like cross generation at this point. But Xbox, we say it a lot on the show. If you're not delivering games consistently, when I look back at this generation, or if I look back at the past, the past 6 years or 7 years, Xbox has really not delivered much of anything they promised. I always go back, Lord Addict, to Phil in the denim jacket, where he said, we are building a first-class suite of studios. And behind him on the screen, he had all these logos of the studios they have, which is just a few. And they were planning on buying stuff. That next year, they started buying studios. And then they bought Bethesda. And then this promise has been going on for so long. And what do we have to show from it that actually made a major impact in the industry from Xbox is Psychonauts 2, Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon 5, Starfield. What else? What else has made a major impact?
And like, it's like the part.
Well, answer me. Like, what else is what have they put out this generation? Because they didn't anything last generation. It was like Wasteland 3 that came to everything, and then Stay Decay, whatever. What have they put out this generation that has propelled them forward with this promise that we're building first-class studio suites? What have they put out?
Not a lot.
Yeah,
I think Halo Infinite was successful. It should have been way bigger. But
I mean, Starfield was good though.
Yeah, Starfield was great.
Was good. Yeah, I think Starfield was. Look, was it as successful as like people expectations were? Probably not, because I think Bethesda themselves, long before that game that they were ever bought by PlayStation, Xbox, were hyping the hell out of that game to unrealistic expectations long before Xbox even looked at them like that. And and I get that to a degree, but it's just like, look, like. They don't even have to. The thing is, Colt, they don't even have to do anything severe. They've had a decent year with Game Pass, and if Avowed would have came out, it would have been even better. They've had a decent year. It's not been a good year. Last year, I felt like they had a good year. Next year, it looks like they're having an amazing year. You keep a couple years like that going.
Yeah, 2021 was pretty amazing though.
The thing is, you got to turn the perception around. Once you turn the perception around, then you start throwing out games like Fable. You get the Call of Duty marketing license. Literally, Xbox has Thanos' gauntlet with every damn thing they need to actually turn a console brand around. But at the end of the day, in order to get that gauntlet, they essentially had to use what's the reality stone to erase the vision that Xbox had years ago.
The problem is too, though. With the games they've released, everything they've released this generation so far has been games that every reviewer and stuff out there will say, oh, the game is really good, but, and there's always a but with every game. There's always something that's wrong or could have been bigger or flashier or better, in some ways. And you always get that with Xbox games so far. And Xbox hasn't had one of those games that's like, oh my God, this is a must-have, must-buy console for this game alone. They haven't had that moment yet this generation. It hasn't happened. And you honestly look at the games that are coming up, like Indiana Jones, and say, that one's it. That one's the one that you have to buy an Xbox for. Because I can't say that with anything I've seen so far.
Gears Tactics, Flight Sim, Psychonauts 2, Forza Horizon 5 might be. Halo Infinite might be. As This Falls, Grounded's incredible. Minecraft Legends, Quake 1 and 2 Remaster, Modern Warfare 3, the worst Call of Duty ever put out. Deathloop, Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush is amazing. No one cared. Age of Empires 2, no one cares. Ghost of Wire Tokyo, no one cares. Redfall, worst game ever made. Age of Empires 4, not a lot of people care. Starfield, big game. Forza Motorsport took so long and was talked about for like 2 weeks. And then Hellblade 2. That's it. Those are all the games that they put out from their first party this generation. And a lot of those games, well, you hate to see it. Across the board, Addict, those games are an 82 out of 100 Metacritic. Across the board, aggregated out. PlayStation's suite of games, this generation is an 82.2%. So right now, PlayStation is a 0.2% higher in open critic metrics than Xbox. So on paper, those games are all really great. But when we're talking about, is Xbox brand going to rise above the ashes and become huge? Yes, when they put out Fable, Perfect Dark, Gears E-Day, South of Midnight, all these games we've waited for since 2020.
To that. That's if those games are amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
You don't know. You don't know yet. We have to see that. And Magnum is 100% right. Because I agree with you, Magnum. Sony hasn't had that moment this generation either. I don't think the games that they brought out this generation either, they don't even, make you go, oh my God, I got to buy a PlayStation 5 for that. I ain't gonna lie. Here's the thing though. Most of their games, they are sequels to very popular games that came out last gen that were system sellers. So in that
most
regard,
of those games weren't better than their predecessors either.
Yeah, I mean, Horizon was really great and highly rated, but no one cared. Elden Ring buried it. So it wasn't their big moment.
I didn't think Ragnarok touched 2018, even a little bit.
Ragnarok, thank you. Yeah. Ragnarok wasn't as good. Horizon is definitely not as good. I couldn't even finish that bore fest. None of the sequels that have come out, even Spider-Man 2 wasn't better than Spider-Man
2018. Spider-Man 2's a 91. Fonz, and I did not love that game. I love 2018.
It's not as good as 2018.
Attic, what's your take on Spider-Man 2?
I think Spider-Man 2 is worth your money, but I wouldn't call it like a generation-defining moment.
Yeah,
like I do think Spider-Man 2 was a fun game, and I think
I did too.
If you enjoyed the first one, you should probably invest into the second one. I don't know how the game functions now because it was pretty bad when it was at launch. Because I even said, look, if you are able to push past through the bugs, I enjoyed my time even with the bugs, then, maybe invest into it. If not, you should probably wait.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know.
Either side, I don't think we got that genre-defining moment, right? Or that game's-defining moment of this generation. However, will it come? I don't know. But PlayStation 5 has already solidified itself based on these sequels to amazing games that they had last generation. That's what they've got going for them.
And PlayStation's not telling people to you know what, I understand, you might be, not unsure if, this game's going to be over on Xbox or this game's going to be over on PC Concord. They didn't do the greatest, or do you expect Helldivers on Xbox? I don't know. Might come, might not. Xbox is like, yeah, they getting that shit next year.
Don't worry, PlayStation fans. One more thing to tell you.
We got you later.
Coming to you.
That brings me to... well, I guess I don't know how long we would talk about this, but That reminds me, one of the topics we're going to talk about in a second here is Push Square's demand to Xbox. But we got to talk about the worst gaming failure of the entire console generation, or from exclusive first-party generation, is Concord. The game launched at a peak player base over its initial launch weekend of 700 players. That's off the top of my head. The game is sitting at around 200 live people on Steam. The 700 players was on Steam. We're hearing that it's double that on PlayStation, but even that is one of the most abysmal faults of anything that is launched on the PlayStation or even Xbox. Concord is proof that if you want everyone to feel included in your game, it's not going to pay off for you, because all the people that would be included just ran away everybody who just wants a normal game that's great and fun. Concord, I feel like in the preview when I played it, was kind of fun, but I just thought, I'll play 8 matches and I probably don't want to play it anymore. The world agrees. No one wanted to play it. No one really cares about the game. PlayStation refused to put it into PlayStation Plus or make it free to play. Journalists really aren't talking a whole lot about Concord, and there's no reviews. I should actually check that none came in, but you guys just free jump in on this. Concord is a major failure. Go ahead.
Did you play as the really big fat guy with the mo haircut, or
no? But
play as
the characters are so horrid. The characters are so
terrible.
horrid, Fonz, and I'll give you back to Mike. That the only character I loved was the girl that looks like the female from Avowed, or the 60-year-old grandma with the submachine gun. She was like my favorite character.
The jittery freaking girl with the ears that she just kept bouncing back and forth like she was on freaking methamphetamine.
That character. The character, the teleportability. No. There are 15 reviews out. The game's been out a week. I don't know why there weren't reviews while they were in preview or whatever, but 15 reviews. It's sitting at a 66 out of 100 on Metacritic. Worst failure ever, and I was told not to say that before the game launched, but I think everybody knew. What do you guys think?
Look great in the game. Animations look really good. Like, the game itself presents itself as a really good looking, full featured, hero shooter. However, it's those characters. The characters is one of the main reasons people don't want to play that game. I don't know about you guys in the chat.
Really?
When I look at all the characters and I sit there and you can scroll through, you can see them, I've watched people play it and I see the characters they're scrolling through. There wasn't one character I was like, well, that guy would be pretty cool. None of them have that cool factor at all.
It's a first-person game, though, but go ahead.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Go ahead,
I'm going to be real with you. They should have had that studio be like, use our PlayStation portfolio characters and make us an arena MOBA. Here's Kratos here, or at least put a couple of our characters in your game. Like I like, to me, it's just like you came out here with like these random characters that you didn't really promote them very well. If you notice when Overwatch does it, they actually give you a trailer on the character, a backstory, go real deep into it. Like they didn't, to my knowledge, because I don't keep up with the game. They're like, oh, here's the characters.
Yeah, here's.
I hope you enjoy it.
They only have one. They have like one little repeating line when you pick the grandma character. She says, I can't remember what word she uses. She's some stupid word. But like one character goes, all right, and then he cocks his gun. That's it. Or the other one goes, let's go, and then that's it. Like there's no. They present this like they're gonna have they have this really cool pre-rendered CGI stuff, but
I honestly think they should have went the Rivals way where it's third person, because a lot of their games are third person. Should have had Kratos in there. Alloy, I think's her name. Yeah, they could, because they own more. Just because they don't make the games no more, don't mean they don't own the IPs. They could easily, if they could easily make characters just off of that. But they could easily reached into like their the relationship. How much is gonna what we got to do to get Cloud in this?
Yes,
like
exactly.
they could have easily went that direction. Why this stuff got approved and not factions is beyond me. Because factions would have a player base right now, I guarantee you.
Facts.
Bro, Fonz, we were talking about that on Gaz's show a few days ago, that I believe that Last of Us factions would have done really well, because you strip away the stuff everybody hates from the story of part 2, and you just have just the combat with your friends, which is the best part of Last of Us 2. Like, I think
I played a
factions
little
would
bit
have
of
done really
factions.
well. And I think they made
played
a mistake.
little bit of factions back in the day. Like it was good. The Last of Us multiplayer was great, and they canceled that for Concord. That's the sad part. Like they got rid of that, but they kept this. And I know that they put a lot of eggs into this Concord basket, a lot, and you could tell because I've seen a lot of marketing recently for Concord, and it's sad because there's more people that this game has more eyes on this game than any other game right now, because I've seen so many freaking ads for this game. Nobody's playing it.
And I do want to point out, there could have been way more issues with factions than we know. Maybe it was logistically not going to work out. But to me, at this point, they should have probably just they pretty much put Concord out there knowing after seeing that beta.
They knew.
They knew. They already no way and they didn't know this was going to work out.
Should they have delayed this thing, Attic?
I don't think it would have mattered. I think that they're in a position where it's just hard to compete in this market. I think I really think the only way this would have worked is it's just like Marvel Rivals. You need pre-existing popular IPs already to go into something like this. That game probably would be one of the most played things that was PlayStation owned IPs on that game.
Bro,
because
I love that idea.
Oh man, I'm gonna jump in there. I'm gonna play Kratos. I'm gonna play. Everyone would be in there. They could have put the Thor from Ragnarok. They could have did so much stuff on there. They could have easily have supported that. They could have sold that to a mad amount of people. The cosmetics they could have made would have been crazy. Imagine like 6 months from now, you can get the old Kratos, like the God of War 1, 2, and
classic
3 Kratos.
I mean, I understand that Firewalk Studios probably wanted to build their own universe, and that's really exciting to work on a team. You're like, we're going to create these characters. We're kind of borrowing from the fantastic world of Guardians of the Galaxy, the way that's stylized. I don't know if there's a name for that, but we're going to get the Guardians of the Galaxy feel, but it's going to be our own thing. We can create our own characters, and all these developers get excited about making these DEI characters that just speak to certain people. I'm making a joke, but no, it's
you've got.
I don't want to take that away from.
You didn't even need like existing IP or characters for the game for it to be successful. Just having characters that
to give it a
have any kind of cool factor. I'm 100% with you. That would have been way better. Addict, you're 100% right. But what I'm saying is they didn't even need to go that route. If these characters were better fleshed out and had some kind of cool factor to them, because think about it, when Overwatch dropped, nobody knew those characters, but they looked cool. There were some cool characters within there, and people were like, "Oh, I want to play as that."
All of them were cool.
I want to jump in there.
Yeah.
So it was a lot different, and now also there's kind of an oversaturation of the genre too right now. There is a lot of hero shooters and shooters in general out there, multiplayer games that are out there, and you have to stand out. And one of the ways, again, it always falls back to the characters. One of the ways you stand out is having that character, having having some sort of attraction to these characters,
an avatar that you want to be in the shoes
in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, just stuff that you want to play as. You want to be that cool hero. You want to be a bad A. You want to be, you don't want to be just some schlub in a freaking raincoat running around with a gun and a freaking mo haircut. Like, no, that's not what you want to play as.
What's funny is I'm like thinking of other things they could have done in that fake game. I said they could have made game modes based on the games that the games are in it, like something with like that would be themed around like God of War
or maps that are themed. Yeah. I mean, Attic, it's a winning idea that you came up with. I don't know why you didn't come up with it earlier so you could have pitched it to him.
No, actually, I said something similar on Bleeding Edge when Bleeding Edge was spelling, because I really like that game. I was like, they should start throwing massive amounts of money at it and start putting Microsoft characters in it.
The game's just too slow, though. Just didn't feel fun.
That was a MOBA, right? Bleeding Edge.
No, it was a 5v5. Like
no, but it was a MOBA.
fighter.
I think it was a MOBA. Game.
No, it was.
It's just a MOBA.
No, it's just it's like MOBA. Overwatch, but all third person.
But it's a
there
MOBA
were no mobs or minions or anything like that. It was just 5 versus 5. right?
Chat, what is that considered? Is that a MOBA? Because I'm not gonna like affirmative say it is or not, because I'm not really sure. I don't think it was a MOBA. But
I mean, I played it with Dealer and Darjanite and Chris Grinnell.
I had like 3 days worth of time in that. I played that a lot.
I mean,
really
yeah. What's
that
the
game.
chat saying? I'm looking it up. But
I don't know. I never played it, but I thought it was
online
a MOBA.
battle
That's what I
arena
heard.
game. Yeah, so it was just 5v5 battle arena. You get in there and you meet on each side in the middle and you fight and you respawn. It's just like Overwatch but third person, and Overwatch is the same. There's the same speed in Concord, Overwatch, and Bleeding Edge of your characters, but in Concord and Overwatch you can shoot from range, and
that's
mostly melee based and Bleeding Edge.
But that's what a MOBA is. It's an online. That's literally what it is. Battle arena. It's a MOBA.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of MOBAs that fail out there. So it's hard to break into that genre as well. And again, the characters and stuff weren't very cool in that game either.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
It's I don't know. You can't say Bleeding Edge or Concord. It's completely failed. We talked a lot about how Xbox games are supposed to come to PlayStation, and if you're joining later on, as Attic said early on when he jumped in the second hour, Attic said that Xbox just needs to let everybody know, hey, most of these games are coming, and if they don't, which they won't, you need to just like tell yourself. I think you said it too, Fonz. Just expect everything, and then you just move on with your life because you're going to play the games. But Push Square, a prominent PlayStation site, basically demanded that Xbox no longer stay ambiguous. Xbox needs to let the fans know which games are coming to PlayStation 5. This is such an inopportune thing for them to say, Fonz, because they're basically saying which of these, like PlayStation or Xbox has like 20 games in the roadmap right now that have been officially announced or coming out in the next 2 or 3 years. And Push Square is like, when are these coming to our PlayStation 5? I'm like, just because you don't have a roadmap for your PlayStation 5, we're waiting for this next month's state of play. Just because you don't have, or this month, just because you don't have a roadmap doesn't mean that Xbox needs to hurry up and let PlayStation fans know which games are coming and when to the PlayStation. Did you see this article, Mr. Fonzarelli?
no, I didn't. But I told you already that I believe that Xbox doesn't know which ones are going, which ones aren't. They don't have a concrete answer on that just yet. I don't know. I've heard things that they're fighting internally, Xbox between Microsoft about which goes where and whatever. I don't know if that's true or not, but at the end of the day, what I do know is true is just expect every game to possibly go to PlayStation. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. It's the way I look at it. Like, I don't think they know their roadmap. They don't have a concrete plan anyway. I don't think they know.
It
They're
says,
testing a lot.
I'll give this to Attic, but the quote is, Xbox is clearly becoming a multi-platform publisher, but we still don't have a roadmap for the platform's holder plans on PS5. What do you think, Attic?
So say like word that again. Like, are
Push
you
Square
asking
says
me-
we still don't have a roadmap for the platformer's plans on PS5. The
so
platform's
we're talking
plans.
like so PlayStation's plans on PS5.
No, they're saying
Correct.
since Xbox is multi-plat, they're saying clearly they're becoming multi-plat. Push Square says we still don't have a roadmap for the platform holders' plans on PS5, which I think they're saying, when are these games coming to PlayStation 5? Where's the roadmap? When are you going to tell us when these games are coming to PS5?
Oh, okay. I was taking that as like Xbox is doing this and PlayStation still hasn't told them like what their actual roadmap is. It's like, look, at the end of the day, this shouldn't even be an issue. Xbox should be very upfront on what's going on here. The issue is you say one thing, and then you're secretly having studios making a game for a platform that you deliberately have been telling people it was only 4 games when you knew there was more games in development at that time.
Yep.
When he did that interview with Ryan McCaffrey, I thought it was interesting that Ryan didn't, follow up with more details on that specific question that he asked him. To me, it felt like Microsoft told him we're not answering questions on this. And, IGN was like, well,
We're going to ask anyway.
No. I think that one question was approved, and they're like, after you ask that and Phil answers, don't push anymore in that, because to me, there's just if Phil Spencer were to come on IOP, and you can ask Call because I've been very clear, and me and him went back and forth on certain guests. I'm like, if we can't ask certain questions, we don't owe Xbox, we don't owe no publisher, we don't owe them anything.
Yeah.
We owe our community. And if we're not at least asking questions, now, like, Phil can deny it or he can PR around it, that's fine.
But you're asking.
You can't tell us we can't ask something that our entire community is wanting to know, because at that point, we're selling our community out just to have a big guess.
Yeah, I've done the same thing. I had Jason Ronald on, and I asked the comms, I'm like, I need to ask about this and this. And they've told me, we're not answering that this time. And I said, well, I need to ask it so you can give your reason why you're not answering it, but I need to ask it. And they're like, okay. And then, Jason says, we're not answering that at this time or something. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm not going to be told that I can't at least try, even if it's something, inconsequential.
And it's fair to at least say we're not answering it.
Yep.
But I think these PR people need to understand that if we don't ask it at all, it looks mad sus on us. One of the reasons they like coming up to us and working and collabing with us is because we have the trust of the community. We can't, as content creators, as influencers, podcasters, they can say whatever they want because they're selling a product. We're selling our word. And you cannot put me in a position to compromise my word to even remotely help sell your product. Yeah.
Yeah.
Truth.
Fonz, you wrote in the chat, Concord is amazing. You guys are just frauds. Thanks for the super. Will Broke Boy Lewis says Xbox games will always have a butt with them. Yeah, they will. And they will because they deserve it, because they've had problems with nearly everything. And they're just going to get it by very nature. And I don't know. I've not really subscribed to the Xbox tax because I've watched Xbox create those caveats themselves. And Avowed is one of them. Yeah, Avowed's probably not going to be 60 frames at launch on console. There's your butt. You guys made it. We didn't do it. So yeah, there's that one for you. What's that?
When you have a really good game, there's no real buts about it. Even with Xbox games, Hi-Fi Rush was critically acclaimed.
There are no buts about Forza Horizon 5 or Psychonauts.
Psychonauts 2 was critically acclaimed.
There wasn't even like a lot of butts with Starfield. There's like some nitpicks and stuff.
Loading
people
screens
liked it, but for the most part, the majority of people like Starfield. They just wish they would have developed it a lot differently. Like the bulk of games, that's the part that irritates me is people act like every game Microsoft is making is Redfall. No, that's not the case. Most of the time, Xbox makes good games, but everyone wants amazing because of the situation that they have put themselves in. For the most part, if you look back, besides like Redfall and like one or two other games, they've made nothing but 80 plus Metacritic score games for like the past 5 years.
That's true. He's right. No, but perception is always the problem. The perception is Xbox games are 60 meta, PlayStations are 90. And then I put up that graphic on my show a few times where this generation, their first party, it's 82 versus.
Because a lot of these people, I mean, you're here on social media, and on social media, it's always PlayStation good, Xbox bad.
Yeah,
That's the majority of the people you see. You're constantly seeing people hating on Xbox on social media. It's not all the journalists and everything out there. It's not necessarily like they're hunting down to go after Xbox. I think that a lot of the stuff they do go after is very warranted. Some of these games, I just want Xbox to do better.
Yeah,
and I think most of these people do as well. Do they get a little harsh at times? Yeah, sure. But I think that's what sells with these. They get clicks and stuff on their platforms and stuff. They sensationalize things, and negative news is something that attracts people to go read about it or
where's
look
the
into
negative
it.
news for Concord? Like, are journalists really ignoring Concord right now?
It seems like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, they really are. Wasn't it proven that like the IGN was paying to promote their Starfield is trash article like on Twitter?
What?
Wasn't it proven that apparently they were running ads on Twitter for that Starfield is trash or whatever they called it article. I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, I mean,
but
they could
apparently
pay to push their articles, but
people found that they were pushing that way more than the other articles that they had going at that time.
Jeez.
You know,
I know there was what was it? Is Starfield going to PlayStation 5? It was one of them like that. It was like an IGN article. When is Starfield coming to PlayStation 5? I think it was a game like that. And they would repost that every week. They would retweet that out to the same article to where it was like 3 months old and they were still putting it as a new post. People were like, are you going to continue? You remember that, Addict and Fonz, where they just kept posting the same article from like months ago?
I think that's the article.
That's what you're talking about. Yeah, they just.
I think that's when people started. I think that's the reason when people started picking it apart, because it was promoted so much that people was like, it feels like Twitter's pushing this, and it's not them just tweeting it.
Yeah. I don't know. That's Xbox like media bias crap that I don't always subscribe to. I just think that it's reader service is mostly what it is, guys. It's reader service. If you're a big outlet like IGN, your best bet is to cater to your larger audience and capitalize and make money off them. And that means leaning to PlayStation. And PlayStation's done things better than Xbox in a lot of ways. But I also think Xbox has kicked PlayStation's butt in a lot of ways, and they don't get credit for it. Value, choice, and tons of stuff.
I will say this, and it may ruffle some feathers, but it is the truth. Clip it if you want. But there are people out there who've been blacklisted from getting anything from PlayStation if they had negative things to say.
Oh, it's even worse. I saw a short on TikTok once that was it was something like top 5 craziest times someone was blacklisted, and the number one was someone contacted someone from PR on PlayStation contacted like to go to like one of these events, and he's like, look, I'm busy, so just tell me what I'm going to get there. Is it going to be worth me going? And they're like, oh, you're going to get these exclusive interviews. You're going to get this. You're going to get that. So he went, and it was none of that. It was literally just like a networking thing. He's like, and he just sent them a message like, don't hit me up with these opportunities that's like this, because I don't normally go to these kind of things. I prefer to stay home and make content and not travel a day for no exclusive access to anything. That they said that they haven't heard from Sony in 6 years, ever since they sent that email. Like, they blacklisted them just for standing up for them wasting their time.
That's a good point. Like, I've gone to events and I'm like, but by the time I get home and create the content, it'll be too late. That's why I don't want to go to every single event, because you can sit at home, watch it, and immediately get to work on the content. That's a valid reason. Fonz is talking about the reports that people get blacklisted if they're a little bit harsh on a PlayStation product or game. I've never.
I could tell. Oh no.
Go ahead.
I could tell you some, but if I tell you some, the ones that I know of, it's going to be clear on the people who was blacklisted.
Can you just
why they were blacklisted?
Can you just generalize and
no,
make it?
I'm not going to even risk generalizing it, because the people that told me asked me not to tell anyone, and I'm not going to like betray their. But yes, it goes on in the industry. Like,
you're talking about people that we're no longer working with you because you're too harsh on a product.
Yes.
Or whatever it is. Could be.
Yes.
Could be the shape
there's
weight.
a couple scenarios. There's and now let me just keep my mouth shut. Keep going. I want to say it, man, because it gets on my nerves that people be acting like Sony is this golden child, but it's just like, I value my friends more than I value some clouds.
The point is already made. Attic, you don't have to say anything else. I think we understand what you mean.
I know this to be true. I've seen several content creators say how they were blacklisted by Sony for having negative reviews on games.
Jeez. Well, she's Gunny's being Fonz's Colteastwood's daddy. I love Gunny's to having fun in the chat. I do know this. I will say something against the grain of what you said, Addict, about than Blacklisting. I would totally understand if a media outlet says, we don't want to ruin a good thing. It's really difficult to say. If you're a major media outlet, getting access early to a PlayStation product is guaranteed traffic. Okay. Now, if something comes out like Concord and you play it and you know it's horrible, it might be a good idea as a major media outlet to say, look, we need to think about our bottom line. I'm going to get real conspiracy theory and go, we're not doing a review for Concord. So tell Janice, don't worry about the Concord review because, we want to be true to our audience. And if we give that game a 65, we might not get the next PlayStation product. We need Astrobot review next month, right?
Cold. And
hold on. So if they say, don't do a review for Concord, I don't want to rock the boat. I want to make sure we're in for Astrobot, for Ghost of Tsushima 2, whatever. Because that's guaranteed traffic. Thanks. There's so much traffic that comes in when you review a major, not just PlayStation, but there's so much traffic when you come in and do a high clip game that everyone's talking about. And it might be a wise idea for a semi-biased media outlet to say, let's not publish Concord. Let's just not do the review because I don't want to lose the opportunities that are coming around outside of Concord. And I think that's more plausible and believable than someone just saying, hey, we got to keep it real. Concord sucks. What happened? They blacklisted us.
But the same media outlet that's keeping mum on Concord, on at least a review, is the same media outlet also telling people, hey, a lot of good people worked on this game. Maybe give it a try.
Yikes. I don't know. Attic, what do you think? Am I crazy?
I think it's a mixture of both. I do think there's like a threshold. There's at the beginning, PlayStation will work with you if you pretty much do exactly what they say. I remember one time I made a tweet that says something about VR, and I remember Jeff Grubb defending me because I said that I know scenarios in the background where PlayStation has been a little bit more forceful on this is how you're going to structure it. And if I remember correctly, Jeff Grubb was like, yeah, I let me get the actual tweet, but he essentially said that he's gotten offers from PlayStation at the beginning, and it was pretty much if they did what they asked him to. I'm not going to quote that yet. Let me find the tweet first, but that's essentially what was going down at the time, because I was getting attacked really bad. It was over the PSVR 2, and Jeff Grubb quote tweeted it. And he was, I don't think he deliberately defended me. I don't know how Jeff Grubb be feeling about me here lately, but I remember like I was getting dragged through the dirt, like it was bad. And he was pretty much like, look, I'm not going to say that this happens a bunch. He's like, but he was pretty much like, this has happened to me in the past with PlayStation. When did the VR2 come out? Does anyone know?
2021 or 2022.
I think it was at least a year and a half ago.
The NG Atheist says, Colt, Marlin Gaming Nation, guys, awesome. I love that guy. He says, was as harsh and direct on Concord review than anyone, so he will not get a next game from Sony. You are capping. No, I mean, I just told you, like, I don't believe that. I just think that maybe an outlet might say, let's skip that one because we don't want to rock the boat. And if Atheist, if you don't believe that PlayStation has not given people consideration because they've been harsh on their games, it's already been proven. It's already been proven.
Skill Up made a video on it.
Yeah, like Skill Up got blacklisted from
3 years
PlayStation.
ago. Yeah.
And Ubisoft or something.
That's crazy to act like it doesn't happen.
Yeah. But BB Jar says, so does Xbox. What's your point? I've reviewed a bunch of games for Xbox and they've never asked me. Their only rules are do not spoil this chapter, do not show this cutscene, do not bring out the review before this time, and that's it. Now, while you're looking at it, I know you're looking for that tweet, and I want you to be able to do that. I did a sponsored video for Starfield right alongside the review. I did the review, which was not sponsored, obviously, but I also did a 10 tips and tricks video to get you started building your character in Starfield. They said, do not compare Starfield to other games. And they said like a couple of things that I couldn't do that were normal. I thought it was weird. Like I said in my video, when you're getting the map, like you can kind of move around the map like you do in the Mass Effect series. And when I put the video up for review with Bethesda Comms, they said, take out that part where you referred to Mass Effect. I was like, okay. So I had to edit it carefully so it would actually still be continuous. But one of the things they told me to get rid of that I think needed to be in there is I said, the first thing you want to do when you play Starfield is turn off HDR because it's broken in the game and it doesn't look good. It looks better in SDR. And they said, take that out of the video. But that was a sponsored video. I don't like that sort of thing. That really ticked me off because that wasn't about your character. I could make the video about whatever I wanted. And me starting off by saying turn off HDR should have absolutely been able to be left in the video under sponsored. But that's kind of crap. But that's the only thing I've ever seen from Xbox or Bethesda. Sorry, go ahead.
I've never like specifically been told that I can't talk about like or compare. I've heard about the comparing one where people like say don't compare it. I've never like ran into myself. So I guess part of me could understand a little bit why you wouldn't want, you want your game to stand at its own merits and not even be compared to even its predecessors, but at the same time, I have to push back on it a little bit because it's like, for instance, Marvel Rivals, if they were telling me not to compare it to the Overwatch, but that's the people you want. So if I can't compare it to Overwatch to help sell, if you guys enjoy something like Overwatch, I think you guys would vibe with this. That sentence will probably sell more of your game than just saying what the game is.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Did you find that tweet that you're looking for?
I found the tweet that I got roasted on, but I have to find the one Jeff Grubb was part of.
Yeah.
Roasted. We've all been there. We've all been roasted.
It was bad, man. It was bad.
Noob Sabot JP 45. Thank you for the $5 super. Says if Sony is blacklisting people, media outlets are idiots for allowing it. People love to cancel bullies these days. Like I said, that's my personal opinion. I said it might not be worth it for outlets to burn a bridge they desperately need. And it's a big deal to get access to a PlayStation game if it's popular. So I don't think outlets would be like, Concord's awesome, you should check it out. I think it's probably better off to say, and I've done this. Xbox put out a couple games that I'm not interested in. I was asked if I wanted to do a review for Minecraft Legends, the one that came out last year. That game's awful. And Rand and I played it together for like 4 hours. I'm like, I'm not reviewing this. I don't even like I cannot do a review on this game. I don't know this genre and I don't like Minecraft and I'm just not the right person. I got so mad way back in the day, like 10 years ago. GameSpot, I think, reviewed Gears 4 and then the opening line from the GameSpot reviewer, I remember the guy's name, I won't mention it, but he goes, I'm not really a Gears of War fan, but I was asked to review Gears 4 and I'm like, oh, for fudge sakes. I don't know. What do you got there, Attic? Or Fonz? What do you guys got? Anything else?
Nothing.
Attic, did you find it?
I'm looking through.
It's 3.5 hours here.
Yeah.
Things are starting to go blank.
Yeah, it's we've got over 500 people, and I that's about what I have for the show. Attic, I appreciate you stepping in, and you haven't been on the show in like 3 years. Last time you were here, the power went out while you were in the middle of the show, and you had to leave. So I appreciate you. Do you have anything you want to like sell to people? What? Tell them about your podcast. Thanks for being on.
Follow me on Twitter at Lord Addict ILP. You can also follow me on YouTube at Gaming Addict. I do have a streaming channel I do now. It's called Addict Arena. I appreciate you letting me come on here. I've been playing Ideal Chronicle the whole time I've been playing this until I've been looking for this tweet. I can't remember if it was a quote tweet or a post. Like that's what I said. I don't want to quote anything, but it might not even been Jeff Grubb. I just can't remember. Someone said something, and it was someone big that I felt was that actually carried some weight. Because the moment
when you get called out,
if it was Jeff Grubb, that's why I think it was Jeff Grubb, because whoever posted it was so like people respected enough where people had left me alone after that. But unfortunately, I didn't know this, it won't let me go back any further than the beginning of the year.
Interesting.
Yeah, because normally it will let you go back as much as you want to, but for some reason it won't let me go back to more than January.
Noob said it was probably Gaz.
Okay, Gaz would have probably made it worse.
Yeah, he would have.
He would have. I remember I was doing some public stuff for ILP. And I told guys, I'm like, okay, guys, like I want like a 3-minute clip of, just you speaking. And he's like, okay, man, okay. When I watched this stuff, I had to send it to Cog, like, we good posting this? Like,
yeah, I know.
Because it was before one of our shows, and he was like, Gaz be a Gaz, and I just had to talk to Cog. I'm like, because we had Jason Ronald ended it, so I was like, are you sure? Are we cool with him saying this? Because, Jason Ronald's going to be at the end of all it. He's like, look, he didn't say anything crazy because I didn't care. But I know, when it comes to stuff YLP, I got to get everyone's consideration. But he's like, nah, he didn't care. So I was like, all right.
Well, you guys are amazing. Iron Lords is one of the big inspirations for this show, as well as Fonz's show and Gaz's show that he has done. But I appreciate you being here, Lord Attic. Fonz, I destroyed you. I really appreciate. I apologize. Let's play Red Dead later, unless you go to bed. Bro, it was great having you on, and thanks for sticking around and adding so much.
Thank you for having me on. As such a good friend, he rarely ever invites to his show.
Bro, you've been one of the OG guests on the show. Like you were.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm teasing.
Tell everybody what you're doing, like when they can, what's going on with GameStalk Live, and sell it, bro. Well, sell it. It's your moment.
Well, currently I'm sitting here. It's about 78 degrees outside. It's
hot in here.
It's nice. It's nice weather. So I'm going to go outside, hang out no, I'm just kidding. You can find me at Fonz Gaming here on YouTube, and of course GameStalk Live every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. West Coast time. So it's a little late for the East Coasters. We're looking at 10 p.m. and then really late or early, depending on how you look at it, over on the UK. The UK is always telling me, it's like 3 a.m. or something when I start my show. Unfortunately, that's the only time slot I can do right now. So Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. Find me there. Me and Hargeet Chani, by the way, he's my co-host there. So we have fun. We have fun over there.
You guys put up with a lot.
Sometimes we debate a lot because we don't always see eye to eye on everything, and it's cool. That's and that's what I wanted when I looked at people around, to get co-host. I was like, Hargeet hates PlayStation so much, and I don't. This is going to work out. This is going to be really fun.
He hates it so much he sold it. And can't stand the controller.
He hates PlayStation as a corporation, everything about them. And it's not about him loving Xbox. He just freaking hates PlayStation.
And oh my gosh, look what Gunny wrote in the chat, bro. At the bottom.
I don't see it. My posse's on Broadway.
We've been singing that party chat last night.
Because I sang it to you and you were like, who was that again? I'm like, Sir Mix-a-Lot. Yeah. Oh, man. Going way back. But anyways,
biscuits.
Yeah.
Yep.
Find me at Fonz Gaming. Had a blast on ILP too. It was good to rock out with Attic today because you were not feeling it Sunday morning. So it's good to see you in better health.
I was out of it.
You guys are all legendary. Thanks, everybody.
I'm still out of it a little bit, but I'm doing better than I was.
I appreciate you jumping in and helping us carry the show. Thanks, everybody.
Skillet Will said Fonz Gaming usually does his phone-in reports to XNC.
Yep.
Yeah. When I forget that he's on the air and I call him, I'm like, hey, Colt, what you doing? He's all, you're live on the air.
Yeah. Today you were like, I think I'm going to call in today. And I was like, I was going to ask you to the show and I hadn't asked yet. Let me get to the last button here. Where's this thing? There it is. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. This has been, I'll just do the station identification. This is XNC Podcast, episode 163. Thank you for checking us out on Spotify, iTunes, and other podcast platforms. on demand. You can also, thank you for checking out here on YouTube. Leave a comment at the bottom what you thought about the, we're going to be putting up timestamps right when we're done. So appreciate you. Lord Addict, thank you so much. When schedule frees up, I'd love to hang out with you guys again. Fonz, I'll see you on Red Dead maybe later tonight. You guys are amazing. Hit the like button on the way out, and we'll see you next week on the XNC Podcast, soon to be called the Video Game Podcast. Xbox dead. It's over. Fire Phil Spencer. Just kidding. Here we go. Bye, guys.
Oh, man, that thing is massively huge.
Wait, push it again.
Oh, man, that thing is massively huge.
All right, we're out of here.